afternoon, everyone. And it's 2:03, and we will start the Board of Trustees regular meeting for March 10th, 2026. Good to see all of you here. We'll start with item 1.01, the call to order, and then 1.02, roll call. Clerk Hall, can you lead us in the roll call, please?
Clerk Holme, present. President Mayberry.
Here.
Dr. Nicolette.
Good afternoon.
Trustee Phoenix.
Present.
Trustee Smith. Here. Trustee Westlake. Here. Vice President Woodley.
Here.
Student Trustee Maya Hartley. Here. All present. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Clerk Hall. We'll move to item 1.03. This is our Pledge of Allegiance. I just want to acknowledge somebody up at the dais for the second time, but who is officially now our Chief Legal Counsel, Sarah Montalvo. Thank you for your service, and she was recently promoted from Deputy Legal Counsel to now our Chief Legal Counsel, so we're delighted that you're here. And I'd like to ask you to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 1.04 is our land acknowledgement, and I've asked Trustee Nicolette to read the land acknowledgement.
We acknowledge that Washoe County School District schools and communities are situated on the traditional homelands of the three major tribes of the Great Basin Native American peoples, including the Northern Paiute, Washoe, and Shoshone tribes. We honor their ancestors past and present and recognize these lands as a continued gathering place for communities. We express our deep respect and gratitude for the opportunity to live, work, and learn here in Nevada.
Thank you, Trustee Nicolette. We'll move on to item 2.01. This is the approval of our consent agenda items, beginning 2.02 through 2.09. I did not receive any requests to pull any, so I'll ask the board if there's any interest. Seeing none, I'm going to ask for public comment. JJ?
I have no comment for consent.
Thank you. There's no discussion. I'll entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda item 2.02 to 2.09.
Mr. Chair, I'm ready.
Okay.
I move that the Board of Trustees approves consent agenda items 2.02 through 2.09.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion from Vice President Woodley to approve the consent agenda items 2.02 through 2.09, second by Trustee Phoenix. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Outstanding. Moving right along. We are going to take a few things out of order, folks. We got some guests in the audience that we want to cut loose. We appreciate them being here. So we are just going to pause item 3.01 and go straight to items 4.01, followed by 4.02, followed by 4.03, and then we'll go back to our budget discussion at 3.01. So with that, we will open up 4.01. This is a presentation and discussion, approved the grant award from the Guillemot Foundation. Our presenters, Dr. Josh Hartog is here. Chris Hackbush is our Chief Academic Officer. Our special guests representing the Guillemot Foundation, Bill Johnson and Thomas Hall. Thank you for coming. And this is an action item.
Okay, good afternoon, President Mayberry, Superintendent Ernst, and Board of Trustees. My name is Chris Hackbush, Chief Academic Officer for Secondary Education. It is not often we can say we are here to present a transformational opportunity for our students in the Washoe County School District, but because of the extraordinary generosity of the Guillemot Foundation, today we can make that statement. Before I begin, I would be remiss if I did not mention the long-standing support of both President Mayberry and Trustee Smith for aviation education. I also want to acknowledge the support of AACT Principal Jason Maddock, who has brought 3 student drone pilots here this afternoon, which will be on after us. So stay tuned for that. The drone pilots are Gavin Ellison, Evan Weber, and Addison Kirsten. It's now my pleasure to turn the presentation over to Director of Career and Technical Education, Dr. Josh Hartzog, who is really the architect of this grant.
Hello everyone, Josh Hartzog here for the record. It is my pleasure today and great honor to present to you all the next historic investment from the George W. Gilmont Foundation in the future of STEM and aviation education across our school district. What we have for you here today is essentially a 4-part project, primarily composed of a $1.33 million funding support to our school district. The first primary component of this project is to support access to students to be able to engage in drone competitions at the middle school level. So this will enable students across every single one of our middle schools in the school district to have the opportunity to participate in drone-based competitions via the REC Foundation, or the Robotics Education Competition Foundation. It will also support drone teams at several of our select elementary schools. The second part of this project is going to be to provide contracted professional services to support these drone teams and these drone coaches. We recognize that in our school district we do not currently have the full-time capacity to support coordination efforts, so that is built into this grant. We want to make sure that we are, via a competitive process, outsourcing those services to the experts to be able to provide this level of support to our coaches across all of our middle schools as well as our elementary schools. The third component of this project is to support full-time, a 1.0 full-time equivalent position of an educational technology specialist at one of our Title I elementary schools in the northern region of our school district. And then also it is designed, lastly, the fourth primary component is to support flight simulator lab equipment at North Valleys High School. We are focusing especially on the North Valleys vertical as a part of this project because North Valleys High School has an Air Force JROTC program. So essentially what this project is going to do is, in addition to AACT with the Aviation Academy, this is also going to provide access to our students at one more of our most sizable verticals in the Washoe County School District. What this means in terms of our ongoing partnership with the Gilmont Foundation, as many of you will remember, as all of us will really remember, this is the inaugural year of the Aviation Academy at the Academy of Arts, Careers, and Technology. That program, that aviation technology program, is the result of the first historic investment from the Gilmont Foundation, which was a $1.09 million project. And those students are currently enrolled in that program this year, and it's going just fantastically. Again, with this particular project, it's going to expand access to aviation education beyond AACT and really broaden and scale up access and opportunity across every single one of our middle schools, especially. After this project is implemented, the Gilmont Foundation will be up to $2.4 million of investment in the Washoe County School District. And we just cannot reinforce our thanks and gratitude enough to the team that is here with us today, which I would like to recognize. Next steps and recognitions. If this project is ultimately approved by the board today, we will be making announcements to all of our middle schools to let them know, especially their administrative teams and their teacher teams who will be providing our coaching core, that this opportunity is available. We are planning a student-centered, very public, expanded celebration at North Valleys High School, also incorporating their Air Force JROTC program. And then we are continuing our partnership with the Gilmont Foundation and their associated nonprofit organization that they work with, Pathways to Aviation, which has a very special event also coming up on April 7th. And then also we want to especially recognize the board of the Gilmont Foundation, which you see pictured up there, and then I would like to give a few minutes to one of the board members in particular to offer their perspective. We have pictured from left to right on the picture on the right, we have Tom Hall, who is the chairman of the board. We have Mrs. Marie Guillemot, who is not able to be with us today, and then we have Mr. Bill Johnson. And before we move further, I'd like to just give a few minutes to Mr. Tom Hall from the Guillemot Foundation Board to provide his input on what this project represents to the Guillemot Foundation.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hall. Good to see you.
Nice seeing you again, President Adam Mayberry, Joe Ernst. I'm going to have lunch with you some of these days. And board members and council. I like council. That's what I do for a living. So we're here basically celebrating the legacy of George Guillemot. George was a fantastic guy. I was attorney for him for 40 years, actually a long time. And we grew into a very fond relationship. He had a vision of helping kids get education mainly. And the path he followed was aviation aerospace. And he wanted to teach kids how to fly. He wanted to teach kids how to repair an airplane, turning bolts and nuts, they call it, and also to learn how aviation works. So we started with a grant to University of Nevada, Reno, $36 million, October 31st, 2023, largest grant in Nevada history. Not a bad deal. And so we're just more than delighted to help the Washington County School District because we strive and reach for vertical integration. J. Woodrow Elementary School, they asked me to come there when they were doing the ribbon cutting, and I had my Pathways to Aviation hat on, proudly. We're going to do middle schools. Josh is a fantastic guy. Let's hear it for Josh. Middle schools, high schools, we have Aviation Academy and others as we go. We want to create an Aviation Academy in Douglas County, Churchill County, and Washoe County. So we have 3 corners of our 6-county region, Washoe, Carson, Douglas, Story, Lyon, and Churchill County. And I know all of you. I'd like to know more of you better. I know Beth Smith quite a bit. She takes me to lunch occasionally. I like that. I did want to say it's a village that creates this. It's just not one person, whether it's Mr. Guillemot or me or Bill. I'd like to have everybody recognize Bill. We have an airport. Emily Emerson is here. Where's Emily? She's helping us. We're putting on a program on April 7th at the university. A glider pilot out of Minden set 3 world records. How far can you go in a glider? 2,000 miles.
Wow.
How high can you go in a glider? No engine, just up. 72,000 feet. I mean, these are just staggering things. We're affiliated with a university called Embry-Riddle. Adam Mayberry graduated Embry-Riddle. And we're having the former president of Embry-Riddle come to our April 7th event. And he's the owner of this glider, and he has a pilot that flies him around. I could go on the lot. All I'm saying, this is a great day. It takes a village. Adam Susi, where's Adam Susi? Couldn't do all this without buildings. Josh, I mentioned, he's a fantastic guy, helped us a lot. Adam Mayberry, Joe Ernst, Beth Smith, sorry. I know it's Sarah Beth Brown, so I'm sorry, I'm confused. For July 4th, coming up, a concert by the Reno Philharmonic at Mackey Stadium, a 500 drone show, largest drone show in northern Nevada. 25,000 people. We're going to pack Mackey Stadium, and featuring patriotism, opportunity, education, and aerospace education. My dad was a flight instructor. My mom was a dance instructor. My first wife was a second grade school teacher at Suffolk Cove Elementary School. I, as attorney, have written 30 books on various aspects of law and land and water and easements. Education is what drives our community. It's been proven over and over again. Children, kids make up 33% of our population. It's been scientifically, we had an engineer study that, 33.3%. But guess what? They represent 100% of our future. So let's treat them well, educate them well, and give them a good job. Thank you very much.
Okay, at this time, we're going to have our students come up from AACT.
Dr. Hartzell, can you make your announcement, please?
So we have our students Gavin, Addison, and Evan from AACT here to give you just a small demonstration of what is going to be taking place in this project on a large scale. And because we are very safety oriented and these students learn safety as a primary component of their education at AACT, I will ask the board to please put on your safety glasses.
Very official.
We are ready.
And Mr. Maddock will be upset if I forget to announce it. Which one of you just earned your FAA 107 part certification? Very good. So, yeah, just earned his official drone pilot certification, so he can fly a drone commercially now. And he is the son of Emily Ellison, so keep it in the family. We have a check presentation, and I'll just assume we are ready to move on to our photo opportunity.
Sure. Let me just ask, any board members have any comments before we pause for a check presentation?
Hey guys, hang out, please, some questions.
Truly a great day, for most the sky is the limit, but for those in aviation, the sky is home. And so it's a welcome home. And I'm really grateful to Guillemot Foundation has continued to support this aviation program and for generations to come. What a wonderful privilege and gift. Thank you.
Thank you.
Both Mr. Johnson, Mr. Hall, thank you very much. So why don't we pause for a photo? I apologize with all that. Thank you. That's why we have Sarah to my right. We do need to make a motion. I guess we have to accept the money. Yeah, we got to do that. So let's call for public comment first, and then I'll entertain a motion.
I have no comments on this side.
Excellent. Thank you. I haven't said that. Any further comments? Trustee Smith?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Board of Trustees approves the grant award from the Guillemot Foundation for the expansion of aviation education across the Washoe County School District with special focus on strengthening a key vertical in the North Valleys region in the amount of $1,330,000.
A proud second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor from Trustee Smith, a second by Trustee Nicolette. Are there any more comments? Trustee Phoenix?
No.
Okay. Any more? Okay. Gosh, I would give anything to be a student at Washoe County School District. I wish I wasn't past 50. So, that's amazing. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we'll pause real quick for a photo.
No. You get in there. No.
Or do you want to raise it a little bit?
This is Washington, not AC.
Or maybe call me your designs on there. You guys
We're painted with each other. Very close together, squeeze. Leave it even closer. Thank you so much. All right, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me, big smile. All right, everyone say thank you, Gilmont Foundation. Thank you.
One more.
Right, and then I have swap. All right. Right, one more, big smiles, eyes on me. And one for social media, of course. Okay, everyone looks amazing. Thank you.
She's on the wall,
Yeah, we know.
Maybe, oh, I was gonna say, she's gabbing them up. Make sure you guys wear glasses so there's two grabbing.
Safety glasses.
Take it.
Bye, home.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Good to see you.
Thanks, guys.
Nice job, Trailblazers. If you didn't know, Mason takes so much two music sticks. I was joking that Tiffany that's joking that Jason takes the whole Trailblazers thing like all the way. He's like
Okay, that was wonderful. Thank you. We'll bring it back. Move on to our presentations. These are discussion only. There's no money involved here. Item 4.02 is a presentation of a proclamation honoring March 2026 as Nutrition Services Month. And I've asked Trustee Hall to read this proclamation. But before that, we'll have presenters Adam Searcy as our Chief Operations Officer, Tim Wilson with Nutritional Services, special guest Shannon Brenneman, Field Supervisor, and Cheryl Whalen, by Miss pronounce these. Sparks High School kitchen manager is here with us too. So we'll turn it over to Mr. Searcy.
Hey, good afternoon, folks. Adam Searcy for the record. We don't have any big checks or drones, but we do have snacks. So, just like Christmas morning, please enjoy and also enjoy this recent video of our central kitchen just on replay. You know, I have the pleasure of helping guide the nutrition services department and all that they do. From my standpoint, you know, it's a large operation. I don't need to belabor the statistics. Over 100 schools, tens of thousands of meals served every day, the majority of them for free through our enterprise fund and through the National School Lunch Program through the USDA and the Nevada Department of Agriculture. Hundreds of employees were additionally supported internally through the business office as well as human resources, extensive amount of internal teamwork that goes into helping operate this program. But really where the heart of any of our work is at our sites. And so the several hundred employees of the nutrition services team who work and serve exclusively in our sites are really what make the impact, whether it's helping an elementary school student open their milk carton or really helping those high school students find their way through their busy day, their activities, clubs and activities over their noon hours, while still ensuring that they don't forget to have a balanced and nutritious meal. That's really what makes working with nutrition services special. We're appreciative of the opportunity to kind of spotlight them. And I want to bring up Tim Wilson, who is district manager with SFE. SFE is our vendor partner in operating nutrition services. They bring a special blend of meal quality, emphasis on meal quality, and student engagement into their leadership role. Tim?
I always like to say Tim Wilson for the record. Good afternoon. Thank you, Board of Trustees and Superintendent, for recognizing nutrition services during National Nutrition Month with this proclamation. This is my 13th year working in child nutrition, and during my time with the Washoe County School District, I've seen firsthand the power and dedication of this team and what they bring not only to the students, but to the community with the programs we partner with. I'd just like to take a quick moment to recognize two of the staff members that are here with us today. If they can please stand up. First, I have Ms. Shannon Brenneman. She is a field supervisor. She supervises more than 20 schools, supports dozens of employees across the districts. She's truly the tip of the spear. So when it comes to feeding students every day, she brings over 30 years of experience in school nutrition. She's worked her way up from worker one in the kitchen, starting at Reed, when Reed used to be the central kitchen for us old timers, all the way up to kitchen manager, and now she's a field supervisor. Her experience and leadership is invaluable. Second is Cheryl Whalen. This is really special to me. Go back, but she served the district for over 30 years. She's had many titles: co-workers, mentor, kitchen manager, and friend in many in our department. My personal favorite title for her is Sparks High School Historian, because she knows so much about the kitchen, and anything Sparks High, she knows. She graduated there. But her newest title will be retiree. As of last week, she retired. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to celebrate that too, along with all of her experience here. To close, I just want to say it's truly an honor to be one of the leaders in this department. I learn something new from the staff every single day, and their dedication is what makes this program strong. So far this year, through the end of February, we've had the honor and privilege to serve 1.6 million breakfasts, 2.6 million lunches to Washoe County students. Thank you again for this opportunity to highlight this incredible department. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. And with that, I'll ask Clerk Hall if she'd like to read the proclamation.
Thank you so much, President Mayberry. I'm incredibly honored to read this. As many of you know, I'm an educator, and I know the power of feeding our children. Food is foundational, and when our children have full bellies, they learn. They have the ability to learn.
And when they're hungry, all they're thinking about is where their next meal is coming from. And the people who make that happen are heroes, absolute heroes. The other thing that is so incredibly important about our school lunchrooms and our nutrition services is that when our kids go to the lunchroom, they practice the skills they're learning in class. We can teach them the skills all that we want, but they will not learn them until they practice them. And they get to do that in the lunchroom and on the playground. So I thank all of our nutrition services workers for providing that environment for our children. Thank you. Whereas March is recognized nationwide as National Nutrition Services Month, as established by the School Nutrition Association to honor school nutrition professionals who support student health and academic success. And whereas the 2026 theme, Discover the Power of Nutrition, highlights the vital role nutritious meals play in helping students learn, grow, and reach their highest potential. Whereas the Washoe County School District, WCSD, Nutrition Services administers child nutrition programs at more than 100 sites throughout Washoe County, supported by a central production kitchen and food distribution warehouse in Sparks that provides breakfast and or lunch to all Washoe County School District cafeterias and select charter schools. And whereas Washoe County School District partners with Southwest Food Service Excellence, a premier K-12 food service management provider, to deliver superior food with expanded menu options and strong on-site support with more than 75% of its recipe collection prepared fresh from scratch. And whereas WCSD Nutrition Services recognizes that good nutrition is essential to sound academic performance and student success, and is guided by its mission, utilizing exceptional customer service to provide access to nutritious, appealing, high-quality meals for every student in a healthy and safe environment while maintaining fiscal responsibility. Now, therefore, on behalf of Joe Ernst, Superintendent of the Washoe County School District, I do hereby proclaim March 2026 as National Nutrition Services Month in the Washoe County School District, and encourage students, families, staff, and community members to thank the dedicated professionals who help our students discover the power of nutrition each and every day.
All right, we will pause for a quick photo and keep the cookies coming.
What's this?
Nope.
There's mine. What do you guys do? We'll take your cookie. I'll take my cookie. I could grab the cup out of the...
I didn't know what
I was not joking.
Yes, that's how this works.
If there's one thing I get out of it, is I get to go in the back.
Yeah, come back here.
Okay, everybody squeeze in a little bit closer on those sides.
Just don't cover the cookie.
Yeah, don't cover the cookies. Trustee Westlake, if I could have you take one step. Yep, perfect. Thank you so much. Big smiles. Look at me. Okay, if everyone has a prop smoothie, take a little sip. Perfect. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you so much. It's so good to see you again. Good to see you again.
Yeah. Don't cover the cookie. I'm sorry about my face.
Good to see you again. My fourth grader loves the food. Yeah, I sent a question on Instagram around here last week because he and his friend were all, they love it. They love it. Thank you so much.
Keep going?
International Women's Month.
Next one. Next one. it for us.
Kristen.
A lot of influence up there.
That's right. That is
What's going on?
the powerhouse right there.
All right, we'll bring the meeting back, and we're at 4.03. It's a presentation of a proclamation honoring March 2026 as Women's History Month in the Washoe County School District. Our presenter will be Michelle Anderson. She's the Chief Communications and Public Relations Officer for the school district. I know there's some other folks behind you that I'll let you introduce. All of them look very familiar, particularly the one on the far right. She has some history, so take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have smoothies or food, but I have a powerhouse behind me, so I'm going to take that. Good afternoon. My name again is Michelle Anderson, Chief Communications and Community Engagement, Public Relations Officer. I'm honored to stand alongside my fellow colleagues who are outstanding leaders, who happen to be female, from our executive leadership team. Standing behind me is Tiffany McMaster, our Deputy Superintendent, Jen Van Tress, our Chief Academic Officer, Student Development and Success, Tammy Zimmerman, our Chief Facilities Management Officer, Shauna Baker, our Chief of Police, and we have one more leader that is up on the dais, and that is Sarah Montalvo, our Chief Legal Counsel, who I know is very grateful to be able to still sit in her chair. Together we represent just a small example of the incredible women leaders across our district, which also includes our 4 outstanding women who serve on our Board of Trustees, and also our student trustee who also serves as our Student Voice President. Each of these women help guide the important work of educating and supporting the students at Washoe County School District. I'm also proud to share that in 2025, the Washoe County School District was recognized by the Nevada Women's Fund, one of our great community partners, as one of the best places for women to work in Northern Nevada. Our district received recognition in 2 key areas: empowering employee well-being and empowerment through mentorship. These honors reflect our district's commitment to creating a workplace culture where women are supported, encouraged to grow, and empowered to lead in every role across our organization. We are grateful to the Nevada Women's Fund for the important work they do to uplift and support women and families throughout our community. I am especially honored today to be joined also by our former superintendent and someone I'm proud to call a friend, Dr. Kristen McNeil, who is here representing the Nevada Women's Fund as a member of their board of directors. I'd like to turn it over to her just to say a few words. Dr. McNeil.
Thank you so much, Ms. Anderson. President Mayberry, Superintendent Ernst, I love saying that, and student representative, members of the board. Nevada Women's Fund extends our sincere appreciation to the Washoe County School District and its incredible partnership and firm commitment to advancing women. For the 2nd year in a row, Washoe County School District has honored Women's History Month by recognizing outstanding employees and issuing a formal proclamation, an inspiring demonstration of leadership and values in action. I'm proud to represent Nevada Women's Fund today and have served on its board of directors for the past 2 years, which will be a 6-year term. Our CEO and president, Isla Friedenthal, provides her regrets that she could not be here today, and she asked me to express her gratitude to the WCSD Board of Trustees and Superintendent Ernst. The Nevada Women's Fund has proudly awarded over $11 million to support the education and career advancement of women a mission that aligns directly with the vital work that our school district in shaping the futures, expanding opportunity, and helping young women and envision what's possible. Together, we are inspiring the next generation. We also recently launched the Best Places for Women to Work in Northern Nevada survey, recognizing organizations that are building inclusive, supportive, and empowering workplaces for women. Participating employers represented more than 33,000 employees across our region, helping spotlight those leading the way and guiding where Nevada Women's Fund can drive with even greater impact. In addition to honoring the 4 top performing businesses by size, dozens of companies were recognized across 6 key categories. We are especially proud of the Washoe County School District, which was recognized for its commitment to empowering women through employee well-being initiatives and mentorship programs. When we celebrate organizations that generally improve and empower women, we inspire a movement, encouraging others to adopt practices that elevate women and strengthen our regional workforce as a whole. Again, I thank you, and Nevada Women's Fund thanks you.
Thank you, President Aguirre. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Appreciate all of you being here. You're inspiration to all of us. Truly, thank you. And I'd like to ask Trustee Smith if she'd have the honor to read the proclamation and any words that she'd like to provide.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. And before I read that proclamation, I have a few words for my female colleagues at the dais. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to read this year's proclamation for Women's History Month. In a moment, when I read it, you'll hear that the theme is Leading the Change, Women Shaping a Sustainable Future. According to the National Women's History Alliance, this theme honors the women who have and are reimagining and rebuilding systems to ensure long-term sustainability, environmental, economic, educational, and societal. It recognizes the powerful leadership of women in creating a future that is rooted in equity, justice, and opportunity for all, as women are at the forefront of driving holistic change. I serve at this dais with 4 other women elected and chosen by our community and students to protect and advance public education. None of you put yourselves above any of the nearly 7,200 incredible women who serve with the Washoe County School District. I respect, admire, and learn from you all in different ways, and there are things all of our students and adults can learn from you that I notice every day. To the longest serving member of our board, Trustee Dr. Diane Nicolette, when you have an opinion or an idea, you share it. You hold your own space without needing anyone's permission to do so. When presented with an additional perspective, you consider it, but you do not give away your agreement for free. Your professional and personal impact in our community and state spans decades, and you're not done yet. Last year, I read an interview with Helen Mirren and immediately thought of you when she said, "People who are retired have had extraordinary, productive, challenging, difficult professional lives, and they're not finished." Taylor Swift may have popularized the term eras, but you personify it. The Washoe County School District is better with you as a leader within it. And by the way, if this is the standard for what people do after retirement, then we all have a lot to live up to. Trustee Colleen Westlake, you are the standard in authenticity, and you embody the qualities of being genuine, real, and true to oneself. Your actions, thoughts, and values align, and you do not perform for others. The expression and emotion of your public service is beautiful. In the Barbie movie, directed by Greta Gerwig, Lawyer Barbie says, "This makes me emotional and I'm expressing it. I have no difficulty holding both logic and feeling at the same time, and it does not diminish my powers. It expands them." Your honest insights are an asset to serious discussion when constructive analysis is needed. The Washoe County School District is better with you as a leader within it. Clerk Christine Hall, your superpowers are clarity of mind and precision of communication. To partially quote Mr. T, "I pity the fool who tries to gaslight you." You deconstruct situations and issues into objective fact accurately recalled history, and clear moral orientation. It is a sight to behold. On a personal level, I love it when you say no and then go on to expertly dismantle whatever challenge or tenuous argument you are facing. Always professional, never apologetic of your talent. Be still my heart. The Washoe County School District is better with you as a leader within it. Student trustee, Maya Hartley. You demonstrate a skill for thinking, listening, and then joining a conversation when you have the most impact. Fellow students can learn from you that you don't have to be loud in order to hold power and influence. I appreciate that you put your light on to share during discussions and deliberations at just the right time in a conversation, often being the last word on a matter. The Washoe County School District is better with you as a leader within it. And there is another woman with us here today whose shoulders many of us stand on, representing the Nevada Women's Fund, Superintendent Emerita, at least I call her that, Dr. Kristen McNeil. Dr. McNeil, you are the model of strength and leadership. You speak with control and self-awareness with exceptional emotional intelligence. You build coalitions, consensus, and demonstrate the art of compromise. In my freshman trustee year, under the tutelage of Dr. Angie Taylor and you modeled how true leaders change their mind when presented with new or compelling information, rather than becoming defensive. I have a list of personal life lessons acquired over time, and you inspired my one that says the ability to change your mind and yourself is a strength, not a weakness. Thank you for that. The Washoe County School District is better because you are a leader. You were a leader of it. As we recognize International Women's Day and Women's History Month, the United Nations and me are personally asking that we all understand that this goes beyond just wearing purple. It means taking action, because celebration honors the courage of women who speak up and stand up. Thank you so much for that time. And now I will read the proclamation. Thank you for indulging that for me. It meant a lot to me to share that with my colleagues. So whereas Women's History Month began as a week-long celebration in Santa Rosa, California in 1978, and since 1995, each president has issued an annual proclamation designating Women's History Month, celebrating the courageous women who have helped our nation build a fairer, more just society that is the very fabric of our democracy. And whereas Women's History Month honors the contributions and achievements women have made, celebrating their perseverance and leadership across society and their impacts on history, the present and the future. And whereas, though these women's stories too often go untold, we stand on the shoulders of many sung and unsung trailblazers, from the women who took a stand as suffragists, abolitionists, and labor leaders, to pioneering scientists, doctors, engineers, educators, and groundbreaking artists, public servants, and brave members of our armed forces. And whereas the National Women's History Alliance has set the theme for 2026 as Leading the Change, Women Shaping a Sustainable Future, celebrating the diverse contributions of women who are leading sustainability efforts across environmental, economic, educational, and social justice movements. And whereas the Washoe County School District comprised 72.5% of the more than 9,900 dedicated individuals in our workforce, serving as teachers, administrators, and leaders, counselors and coaches, support staff and mentors, who inspire and empower our students every day. And whereas the young women in our schools represent the next generation of leaders, innovators, and change makers, it is our responsibility to provide them with the opportunities, encouragement, and support to reach their fullest potential. Now, therefore, on behalf of Joe Ernst, Superintendent of the Washoe County School District, I do hereby proclaim March 2026 as Women's History Month in the Washoe County School District, and encourage staff and community to celebrate women's history by learning about their contributions and encouraging women and girls to continue to break barriers and to learn from and be inspired by the many contributions of women throughout history and today. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Smith. Well done, and we'll pause for a quick photo. Thank you.
Jump on in there. Come on, John.
Always. Well, oh, there you are. Where'd Christine go?
I feel like we're not in a good organization here. I don't feel like we're getting comfortably close.
Yes, everyone big smiles for me. 1, 2, 3. Look at me, look at me. And now look at Andy, look at Andy. And then can I get one with just my powerhouse ladies?
Yes.
So all the men, come on out, ladies, stay where you are.
Joe was trying to stay in it.
All right.
Jeff, you cannot be seen. What are you doing?
Yeah, everybody. I can see everyone. Big smiles. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no. Can't hide his back.
Yeah, that's true. You're sitting down in the back. In the back. I was going to be eating peanuts.
That was fun. Now we get to do budget stuff.
Yeah, right. I can hardly wait.
Yeah. You gotta balance it, you know? At least we cook house.
The smoothie is delicious. It's really good. I'm glad I knew there was a beverage. I didn't realize. I know.
I didn't even think about that. Okay.
Okay, thank you all. Mr. Mathers, man, that's a hard act to live up to. Do you have airplanes or snacks?
I do not.
I do not.
I'm told not no by Christine.
Okay.
We'll come back here. We'll go to item 3.01. This is a presentation and discussion regarding the district's fiscal year 2026 budget process and subsequent analysis. I know there's some other items that you'll be sharing with the board as well. So without further ado, we'll turn the time over to you, Mr. Mathers, and Jeff Bosso's with us as well, the Deputy Chief of Finance for Budget and Planning. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you very much, President Mayberry, Trustees, Superintendent Ernst, Mark Mathers again, Chief Financial Officer.
Okay.
So today, hopefully in a fairly brief fashion, we will go over a number of updates and items for the preparation of our fiscal year 27 budget. And so we'll first start off with a couple outstanding items that we reported on last month and hope to give you a little bit of updates on today. And some also, as in addition to that, cost adjustments for the fiscal year 27 budget. And included in that, we do have one action item to preserve a number of positions in the in our budget, and we'll go over that here shortly. We'll talk about a few other recent developments, and then we'll conclude with our reporting out on analysis that the board had requested be done in the spring and fall of last year. That's something we've done the last several years, not necessarily require any action, but there could be action if the board chooses to do so. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff.
Thanks, Mark. So just a quick recap of our budget process for this year. Last summer, we identified a deficit of at least $10 million, put into place vacancy and contract review processes. In September, we came to you with an $18.4 million deficit, which we were able to get down to $8.3 million in October. Leadership team came up with ideas for 10% budget reductions to central services. And at the last meeting, you all approved an updated enrollment scenario, which left a $5.7 million budget deficit, and then approved reductions to resolve that $5.7 million budget deficit. Some outstanding items from our last meeting were related to athletics and iReady reimbursements. So the first athletics update is related to lacrosse. So in February, the NIAA sent out participation surveys to districts, and those results showed that there were enough schools in our region, including private and charter schools, to be able to form a league. So the NIAA will discuss that at their meetings next month. The cost is budgeted for in the FY27 budget for lacrosse at all of our high schools. But in order to sanction a sport here at the district, the board will need to consider a separate item at a later meeting to approve the final sanction of lacrosse. The next update is on cheer. Going through the NIAA meeting from January, they called this Spirit for cheer competitions, so I'll try to refer to that as Spirit. But they approved having a pilot program for the upcoming school year. Again, we budgeted for this in the FY27 budget. However, like lacrosse, there needs to be a participation survey to be shared with districts and discussed at a future NIAA meeting. We don't have those participation survey results yet, but we'll update you when we do. And then lastly, on this slide, we talked about potential reimbursements from the state for our iReady testing program, assessment program. We don't have any official word from the state on this yet, so we don't have an update, but as soon as we have an update, we'll bring that back to you in the budget presentation. As Mark alluded to earlier, we have an item for possible action today regarding our early learning assistants that provide support in our kindergarten classrooms. So last year during the legislative session, there was funding through a state grant through most of the session, and at the last minute it was cut. So we preserved these positions using one-time weighted funding. The state recently announced an opportunity for a similar grant, which we will be applying for to refund these positions for the 26-27 school year, but we won't know the status of these until April. So as a potential fallback plan due to the importance of these positions supporting kindergarten, if we don't receive funding from the state for these, the idea would be to fund the positions at 1- and 2-star schools and our 3-star collaborative schools to provide support for kindergarten. So if this plan was approved and we don't receive funding from the state, then we would utilize $1.12 million from our general fund contingency account and $480,000 from weighted funding to be able to fund those for one more year. And that would reduce the general fund contingency account from $5 million to just under $4 million. I'll hand it back to Mark to go over funding developments.
So one of the things I want to highlight there in that last item is even despite our budget deficit, we are working hard to identify solutions to, in this case, preserve 41 of those kinder assistant positions. So we're doing everything we can to stretch dollars to do good things for our students and schools, and so that's one example of that we bring to you today. I have several other really good developments that aren't necessarily items for the general fund, but wanted to bring them to your attention as well. It's just been our efforts to continue to kind of improve, provide supports at our schools, again, despite having a significant deficit that we did resolve, but still facing immense financial challenges. And so the first of those is just to notify you that we will be applying for 190 additional pre-K seats in response to a notification of a grant opportunity by the state. We will be applying for those additional seats later this month. We're very hopeful. I've seen the draft grant application. It's really excellent from our grants team. And so that's something, again, that we look to pursue. Again, we know how important pre-K is, and so that's something internally that we hope to accomplish through grant monies. And then secondly, for a long time now, we've been waiting for approval of teacher incentives funded by Assembly Bill 398 in the last legislative session. This goes all the way back to May of last year. There was a number of steps that the state had to go through, but last month the Interim Finance Committee of the state did approve the allocations to school districts. We received roughly $7 million for these teacher incentives. We had already negotiated with WEA, our Teachers Association, on how we might spend those incentive monies, and you can see the plan there. I'm happy to report with that $7 million annual allocation for this year and next each, that we'll be able to execute on this plan entirely and fund as high as an increase of 7.5% to teachers' base salaries. So this equates to basically a 7.5% COLA for these teachers. We structured them not as stipends, but as salary differentials, and by doing so, that those salary differentials should be PERS compensable. So this really is the equivalent of a base salary increase for these positions. And so again, happy to report that, based on everything we can see, we're still waiting word from the state on a few last minute kind of items, but we really think we'll be able to execute on this. The intention here is to pay teachers that are high needs and hardest to fill schools a little bit more to incentivize them to take those positions. And so we're really hopeful for next school year that we'll see teachers take these slots, fill these vacancies at titled schools and in special education positions, and make really even more meaningful progress than we've made over the last year or two. So really good news for us.
Okay, if I could just pause there. Colleagues, are there any questions for Mr. Mathers or Mr. Basso so far? The board requested analysis, which we're going to transition into now. If you recall, we met back in October, and there's 6 of them. And so what I'd like us to do is, as we go through each analysis, we'll pause when Mr. Mathers, Mr. Basso are done talking about each particular analysis, ask any clarifying questions, and then we'll move on to the next analysis. All right? Thank you.
That's right, and as an additional kind of change to this agenda, if you will, based on kind of the denseness of the first item and the materials there, the information there, I'd like to take that first item where we looked at potentially reallocating operating savings from consolidations last. I think the other items are fairly quick items that I think the board can get through pretty quickly, and so that gives us the time to consider the first item kind of in more depth. You won't feel the pressure to move on to other items. So we'll start with item number 2. Jeff and I will tag team these items, but hopefully with your indulgence we can do that. I think it'll move a little more efficiently.
Thank you.
So the first request we'll look at is including early education students for the purposes of calculating allocations. So the current status of this is that we don't include non-special ed pre-K students in our enrollment counts, and that's because we don't receive any general fund revenue from the state for those students. For our special education early childhood students, those students are included in our allocation counts, or enrollment counts for allocations, because we do receive funding for those students. When we looked at the analysis, what we saw was that in most cases, pre-K programs are at our smaller elementary schools, smaller when we look at enrollment, because those schools have capacity in their building to take on additional pre-K programs. So this table here at the bottom shows that an average enrollment of a school with a pre-K program, when pre-K students are included, is 374 students, about 44 students less than when a school doesn't have a pre-K program. The reason we showed this table here, it doesn't look like that much of a difference, but when we look at staffing guidelines for general ed at elementary schools, 400 students is the first threshold for positions. Support that, in this case, 400, when a school hits 400 students, they trigger a 21-hour per week clerical aid for the school. For specific examples of what we found when we included pre-K students in the enrollment counts at elementary schools, 2 of the 28 schools with pre-K students were impacted. 1 school would result in a dean being upgraded to an assistant principal, and another school would have seen a 21-hour per week clerical aid be upgraded to a 40-hour per week clerical aid. And the cost impact based on those 2 upgrades in the 2 schools would be an additional $58,000 to the general fund.
And that concludes item 2, correct? Okay. Trustee Smith.
Thank you so much for the work done for this analysis. I have a couple questions for you. I believe that this board took a really important step last year that's going into effect next fiscal year when we adopted the change to count a whole child in special education, that push into general education. And so that really began the practice of counting the whole child, all the children that are within our schools. So if we were to pass this, would this be the last segment of student type where we don't count? So I guess what I'm saying is this the only type of student that we don't count towards like allocations? This would be the last group.
At the elementary level, yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. And my other question is, could our budget sustain the approximate $58,000 in making this change?
Well, right now, we currently have a balanced budget based on the board's actions, so this would result in a $58,000 deficit for the upcoming fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. If you see no further questions, we'll go on to analysis 3.
Thank you. So analysis number 3 was a request to look at guest teacher pay for our hard to fill substitute positions here at the school district. So what we looked at first was schools with geographic limitations, and what we found in this table below was that the unfilled sub rate wasn't excessively high compared to other schools throughout the district. Part of that is because for Natchez and Gerlach, we do provide mileage reimbursements for subs who cover teacher absences at those schools. However, what we did find was that we had 2 schools, Piccolo and Turning Point, that had a significantly higher amount of unfilled sub rates. So Piccolo, the first semester of the school year, was looking at an 18% unfilled rate for subs, and Turning Point 12%. So one solution that staff looked at to address this was to provide a 10% increase to the daily sub rate for subs that cover absences at Piccolo or Turning Point, and that would result in an estimated cost of $27,000 to the general fund. And that's the conclusion of analysis number 3.
So just to comment on that, thank you for doing that analysis and looking at those, the original ones that you had up there, the ones that are out there geographically, and looking at all that. But then the next slide, really identifying, finding the analysis, really looking at where we really need to try to fill those gaps. And so I appreciate the work on that and that you pointed out to us. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
Any further? Thank you. Let's do Trustee Westlake, then we'll do Clerk Hall. Thank you.
Thank you, President Mayberry. I did ask a question of staff on this particular item because I've had quite a number of principals express to me the frustration in getting substitutes, and I think a lot of it, they say it's because they're just a guest teacher. They are not
classified, I guess, as a long-term sub, even though some have been there for months and months, and some are even doing a couple of different positions while they're there, filling in. And so I did ask, how much would it cost? What would it cost to pay the hardest to fill guest teacher positions if it was 5% or higher, school 5% or higher, and pay them as long-term subs? And it came back as $45,000, which I actually did say that's nothing. But then it was brought to my attention, and I appreciate this by the superintendent, that we are at a zero balance. There were sacrifices made by so many, but I did want to bring it up because I think it's important. Just because you can't do something immediately doesn't mean you shouldn't. To me, what it means is, unfortunately, we don't have the ability to do it right now. However, I think it's important to keep at the forefront and to remind ourselves that teachers that are filling these positions are really helping us out. They are really stepping up, serving our kids, and it is just $45,000, but right now we are in a precarious position. But I still would really like all of my trustees and everyone to keep this in your minds and in your hearts, that when we do have a large windfall, that we can raise up our guest teachers and consider them as family long-term subs, because they're here for the long term. So just wanted to say my piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Westlake. Clerk Hall.
I just wanted to clarify that the only mileage reimbursement is for Natchez and Gerlach, and so Cold Springs and Incline are not included in mileage reimbursement, right?
That is correct.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Clerk Hall. Anything else? Okay. We'll move on to the next analysis, item 4, right?
Yes, sir. This was a request for the district to look into additional opportunities for Medicaid reimbursement claiming, with the intention, right, to increase revenues and the size of the pie for the district. And so wanted to touch on this a little bit here. First, I wanted to really praise Jen Ventress and her team for the work they've done over the last 4 years, I would say, to actually do just that, increase Medicaid reimbursements. You can see some of the things they've worked through, but this is really a complete understatement of the level of effort that is needed to explain to the State Department of Health and Human Services why school districts are different than doctor's offices, to work with them to change the coding of claims, and just a number of areas that they've had to work through. And those all sound trivial, and they kind of are, but it takes years to get through that. All that being said, last fiscal year we saw a high water mark for Medicaid reimbursements. We saw total revenues of $4 million. That our last high water mark a number of years ago was $3 million. So it is a significant increase. And then if I go back only several years, our Medicaid reimbursements, as we work through issues with a vendor and contract and staff that was doing this prior to Jen Ventress and her team taking over, we got a little under $600,000 in Medicaid reimbursements. So we've gone from $600,000 to $4 million, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We are looking at other areas of reimbursement. So right now, our reimbursements come solely from special education students. And so the next frontier, if you will be to expand reimbursement claiming to our general education students, again, who qualify for the Medicaid income eligibility, that receive a doctor's note approving the service, and a number of other steps. So there's just a number of hurdles that have to be overcome to receive any reimbursement. But you can see in the future, what we'd like to pursue are, various types of nursing services that are reimbursable. We can receive reimbursement for our 504 assessments, as well as services provided currently by our school psychologists, counselors, and social workers. But again, these are really monumental efforts to get the state to get in a position to allow for reimbursement claiming, and it also sometimes involves kind of operationally, internally, getting all the different professionals set up. There's intense logging of services that have to happen, so that's an extra kind of activity and cost that sometimes we have to do. And again, we have to get our softwares talking with each other and with the state software, so it's not easy, but we are working through that.
Any questions on item 14? Okay, very good, thank you. We'll go to analysis number 5.
Thank you. So the request here was to look at adjustments to the school calendar to achieve cost savings and kind of quantifying that cost savings if we chose to do that. So the notion here, at least the way we interpreted it, was that we would delay the start of school so that we weren't educating students in August for a week or two during the hottest part of the year. And that would mean having to reduce the winter, spring, or fall breaks in return in order to maintain the same number of minutes of instruction and days of instruction. So we worked with our facilities management team to try to quantify those cost savings in that scenario. And unfortunately, the savings are fairly minimal. And this slide gives you all the reasons why. And kind of to sum it up is that we can't entirely shut down power at our schools at any time of the year, right? There are systems and equipment and units that need to be air conditioned during that time. There are school activities at those schools even during the summer. And so based on kind of base load rates charged by NV Energy, the savings just aren't to the level that even I thought they might be. In addition to that, as I think many of you know, to change our school calendar to that degree is a monumental effort. We're talking about really, if we were to try to implement it, we're talking about a process that's 2 years away. In next month, I believe you will see a proposed calendar for 27-28. So it takes about 1.5 years to 2 years to implement this. We have a board policy and regulation that talks about many different types of things we need to do to even contemplate a school calendar change. That includes surveys, community engagement, formation of an ad hoc committee, some of the other aspects that kind of have come into play and been discussed. I think the last time in 2018 or so is that we need to ensure that the fall semester ends before winter break. And as it was explained to me, that's really important for those high schoolers who are applying for college, right? So both NCAA requirements, but just college admission requirements. If we were to not have that happen and change the calendar such that that didn't happen, that would really impact high schoolers. And then lastly, there was a number of research articles cited in the 2018 that talked about the learning loss that occurs over the summer. And although when we recently dived into that research, it's a little less strong, the evidence does indicate that certain populations, certain special populations do suffer the longer they're out of school. So that was another reason for having a balanced calendar. So we have both kind of quantitative and qualitative reasons why, there are, before we would make any change, you might want to pause. So with that, I'll pause and answer any questions.
Yeah, that was one I brought forward. Thank you for doing the work. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I'm not really impressed, or I'm inclined to do a lot with that. It's just speaking for myself. Any comments, questions on item 5? Okay, thank you. Let's go on to analysis number 6.
So this analysis is related to concurrent enrollment fees. So during the FY26 budget process, staff proposed an option to help resolve the FY26 budget deficit to adjust the fee schedule or how much of the concurrent enrollment fees the district would cover versus what students would cover. Based on board feedback, there was a request for an updated proposal. So right now we currently cover all concurrent enrollment fees for all students. So the analysis here is for FRL students, all concurrent enrollment fees would be covered. For non-FRL or free and reduced lunch students, they would receive their first concurrent enrollment course per semester for free, but then have to cover the cost themselves for any remaining courses. For the next school year, the estimated, or the cost per course is $110. The estimated savings for this analysis is $141,000 and would impact about 700, just over 700 students. If this were to be approved, it wouldn't take effect until the FY 27-28 budget because students have already selected their courses for the 26-27 school year based on us covering their concurrent enrollment fees. So again, if approved, it wouldn't go into effect until the FY 27-28 year.
Great. Clerk Hall?
Thank you. Thank you so much for this. I know we had a lot of discussion about this item, and we all had a lot of feelings around it, and since then I think we've also gotten a lot more information about our enrollment and how much we're saving families, and I think that I implore us to continue to think about that. I also think that this conversation should not be happening without the conversations around AP and IB costs as well as CTE costs. I understand CTE also has some federal funding, so we could potentially move that out of the conversation. But AP and IB need to be a part of this conversation, and I don't think that it's prudent of us as a board to have a conversation about concurrent enrollment separately outside of those additional courses and that coursework, especially because concurrent enrollment is feeding our local economy, and paying for AP and IB does not pay for anything locally. It doesn't pay tuition locally, it pays a company somewhere else. So I implore us as a board to, if we are to consider this, that we only consider it if AP and IB are part of the conversation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the call. Trustee Wessler?
Thank you, President Mayberry. So this 141,000, we're still at zero, right? Because it's not affecting our zero baseline, correct?
Correct.
I understand.
Because it would be a year out before.
Okay. Mine might be more of a emotional because I'm really not looking at it as a dollar item. What I'm looking at is experience. What the experience that we are offering kids that may not have that opportunity, and we are, I'm gonna use that trailblazer. We are like trailblazing. I mean, we are doing this for kids so that they have a pathway, they have an experience, they're supported. It saves families a lot of money where these kids may not have this opportunity without our help. And I don't know that we know the full impact because this hasn't been going on that long to the degree that it is. I don't think we really are going to fully understand the impact this is going to have for our kids' futures and therefore our community, what these kids, these experiences are going to offer our community. And it just kind of worries me pulling the carpet, even to not even a full degree, but cutting it. I'm wondering how many of these kids are just then gonna, they'll say, well, I can take one credit and pay 50%, but then that's it. I don't know. I see dreams being crushed is what I see, so thank you.
Any further comments? Okay, and we will go back to the first analysis.
Yeah, and while we do that, I just again wanted to clarify, these were requests by our board. Staff is not making a recommendation, for example, in that last item. We're not pushing for any decision here. We're just reporting out on what you asked us to look at.
Okay, we will go back to analysis number 1. This analysis was a request to look at using savings that we'll realize from school consolidations and provide additional supports to high-need schools. So to start the analysis, the assumptions we made, we looked at school consolidations in fiscal year 28 and 29. The total savings for those are estimated to be $3 million. So based on the request to use a portion of that, we landed on 20%. 20% of the $3 million is $600,000. So that's what we used for the purpose of the analysis. So we looked at three different scenarios here. And on the table at the top here, the first scenario we looked at was allocating the $600,000 across all of our 1 and 2 schools. That resulted in an average allocation per school of just over $10,000. Can't do a whole lot to provide supports to schools with $10,000. If we looked at just allocating to our 1-star schools, that $600,000 would result in the $24,000 per school. It's still, you're not going to be able to fund even like a part-time teacher aide or assistant at that cost. So then what we looked at was allocating the $600,000 to the schools who will be receiving students over the next several years through the consolidations, and that resulted in an average allocation of $120,000 per school. Feedback from associations that we received on this was, to make an improvement for instruction and provide support for instruction, being able to fund like a teacher or something around that cost would be more meaningful. There were also considerations around the schools receiving students. Providing allocations just to those schools may result in inequities because we have high-need schools in other parts of the district that aren't going through a school consolidation, but still may have additional needs. So beyond that, what we also found was that through school consolidations, schools are going to combine resources and therefore have more supports available at the school. So this first slide here, what we're showing, this is just for general ed staffing guidelines. The enrollment without consolidation, as an example, in the first column, none of those schools have enough to trigger just the 21-hour clerical aid that we talked about earlier in the presentation. When you consolidate and take into account potential rezones for these schools, Booth and Loader would both be over 400 students and therefore trigger that 21-hour per week clerical aid. Again, these examples all happen to fall at title schools here. So we also found that when we're combining title resources at a school, so if we focus on veterans and Booth here, veterans has $101,000 in their current Title I budget for this year. Booth has $133,000 in Title I budget. So neither of those budgets are enough to be able to cover the cost of additional supports like an assistant principal or a dean. Those average costs are at the bottom of this table. But when veterans consolidates into booth, the school would have, in this example, $234,000, which is enough to cover the cost of providing an additional dean or assistant principal, plus additional supports with $100,000 to $70,000 that would be left. This would also be the case for at-risk funding and collaborative school resources. So again, if we look at the example of veterans and Booth, veterans has $91,000 in at-risk funding. Booth has $179,000 for at-risk funding. At both schools, they have social worker services and portions of their deans funded by the costs. But when you combine their at-risk funding, in the second column, you'll see $270,000 at Booth. You could expand, for example, social worker services at the school. So rather than having some partial contracted services at veterans and Booth, you could look at adding a full-time social worker at Booth instead. We also, Booth happens to be a collaborative school, so students going from veterans to Booth would be supported by the instructional coach and long-term sub that are at the collaborative school. Go ahead, Mark.
I think, and I think the point of the last several charts is to show you, even before considering reallocating a portion of operating savings due to consolidation, what you're seeing with these schools is that before, when they were what I call a micro school, right, a very small school, right, the different streams of funding is diluted. And they get something out of that additional at-risk funding or title funding. But when you combine schools to now be what I would call a decent size, 400 to 500, there is a critical mass now of revenues that can be deployed to provide additional supports at those schools. And so that's what we're at least trying to show you in these slides. We're not commenting on, again, necessarily the reallocation of consolidated savings, but we wanted to give you the whole picture of what will happen at these schools. And these are meaningful dollars that will allow us to fund and budget for additional staffing. And one of the comments of, or thoughts of the associations we talked to was, gee, this is great. So we can combine the $50,000 of social worker budget over here with this school's $50,000. Now we have $100,000. Rather than contract for social worker services, can we budget for a full-time district social worker position? And the answer is yes. We could do that. It'd be something we'd look at, certainly. And sometimes we've had difficulties filling social worker positions, but it's just an example of, again, that critical mass of combined funding when you combine schools that will happen.
Okay, thank you. So that concludes the analysis for item 1. Any clarifying questions? Trustee Smith.
Thank you. I very much appreciate the work that went into this, and I'm sure most of us are familiar with how we bring together Title I funds. I think that suitably helps with deans and assistant principals, but I think that this analysis personally needs to go back for some additional consideration. What's the average cost of a social worker, a clerical aide, or any of those mental health positions? Give or take, I know that there's a range.
So social workers' average cost is around $90,000. I'm sorry, what was the second?
Like there's like the clerical aide, for example, because like I can see in one of the examples that the school would qualify for a 21-hour clerical aide. What does a whole position usually have?
A whole clerical aide is probably going to be between $40,000 and $50,000.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So later in the agenda, we're going to be hearing from our fantastic zoning advisory committee. And one of those areas is Booth Elementary School. And on the slide that showed, everybody gets a certain amount. So I really just want to make sure that we level set on equality versus equity. The intent behind this analysis is not everybody gets an equal share. When you're really looking at equity, it's what are the unique needs that the schools have. And the zoning committee shortly will be showing us a concept that would, this is just for an example, but it would create for Libby Booth Elementary 100% of the zoned children currently in a homeless shelter or in the Reno Sparks Indian Colony would go to one single school. And I'm just going to be very direct here. Our standard equation does not meet the equitable needs of a unique population like that. So what my colleagues will hear from me is that I very much think you are totally on the right track. And I'm going to ask that we continue doing some work to look at the unique equitable needs at certain schools. And I'm not just talking about Booth. Because when we talk about consolidating our schools and closing our schools, we have been very clear to our community that we're not just doing this to save money. I didn't vote to do it to just save money. So we do have savings and we have an opportunity for some reinvestment. So my question for you is, if this one analysis continued on for additional work in partnerships with our association, would this endanger any of our timelines if we just continued doing additional work on one single analysis? Would this endanger any of our timelines?
No, we still have time before the finalization of the final budget to do another analysis if the board directed us to.
I appreciate that because, and I don't know if other of my colleagues hear this too, but for example, even that like part-time clerical aide, I have heard from my schools that have very high at-risk populations or transient student populations. An example could be looking at making something like that a full-time role. And again, I'm not just talking about one school, I mean in general. So I think if we were to continue looking at this analysis through the lens strictly of equity and not necessarily equality, I believe that there could be really good uses of this funding or this portion of the savings at other schools. We hear all the time there are schools in the North Valley and in other parts with a half allocation of a social worker that desperately need a full allocation. So I don't know where you would go with this, and I do not want to prescribe specificity, but my request will be based on this feedback to continue working with the associations if we do not endanger any timelines. So, but thank you very much for the work on this.
Any further clarifying questions for item or analysis 1? If not, I am going to go to public comment.
I do have.
Okay, Vice President, I'm sorry.
So I'm looking at this from a different perspective, of a budgetary perspective for me. When I looked at slide number 5, it was a reminder of what we just dealt with regards to our deficits. And we're looking at, I think the last one on there is also the non-major enrollment scenario, 5.7 million. So my first question would be, the 600,000, that is a projected savings, is that correct?
That is correct.
So a savings is not a savings if you spend it, right? I mean, that's how I see it.
True.
So from my perspective, I just don't feel like we're out of the woods yet with regards to our budgeting. From a high level, from my perspective, I would like to see us not look at spending any funds that we find in savings yet, because I don't know what that's gonna look like with the 5.7 million with the mater. I don't know what it's gonna look like once we put lacrosse into the system. We also sanction cheerleading, and I know that's gonna cost some money. I have concerns of us looking at spending any monies whatsoever when there's a possibility or a chance that in the near future we might be talking about positions again. We just talked about positions, reallocating, etc., and that was a great scenario. You know, hopefully, if we have to, it would be that scenario. But my fear and my experience of being a government employee is that there's a good chance we might be discussing RIFs. You know, that's something that, knowing that, having lived that, I really want to make sure that any savings that we identify, first and foremost, I hope that it actually lands and that it materializes. Because I've seen that where we project something and we think it's going to be X, or we don't know. I agree with my colleague. We don't know what the resources, what the needs are going to be for those schools that are receiving the extra students. You know, we might think on paper it's X, but it may be Y. I personally would like to see us, whatever savings we identify, that we park it and we see it materialize, and then we assess, because we're doing it every year. We're doing our budgets every year. We're doing it throughout the year. I'd like to see, because the last thing I want to do is identify spending funds, and then 6 meetings later, identify where we're making cuts. That's my concern. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vice President Woodley. I don't want to get too far down. If I may, if there's a clarifying question, I don't want to start deliberating. I want to do public comment, get that out of the way, and then if I may.
I can accept.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Thank you, Trustee Nicola. Any public comment?
Pablo Novendran.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, President Mayberry. Good to see you. My name is Pablo Duran. I'm a Ward 3 NAM members. So, I like thank you, President, for bringing up the concern about the food consolidated between 4 schools, Washer Corbett, Veteran, Lauder, and Booth, especially on Booth. So there are a large percent of students who are being sheltered. Currently at one school in primarily downtown area or 4th Street, never might recall it. And then there are any colonies that's zoned for Washer Corbett that are being rezoned to Booth, going to one school. I think I agree with that. We need to have more additional support of the critical needs, like 2 and 3 at the least. And also concern for Lauder, I know the enrollment is low, but we know the Veteran and Corbett into a new Lauder will help reduce the consolidation. And also, there are also a large percent of homelessness live in shelter or trailer or mobile park by nearby Kiski Lanes. And the other side of Kiski Lane are also zoned for Washer Corbett. So I'm going to talk that later. So thank you so much. I will support delay and then revise it through the new number. Give it the new number for the if a zoning provides community improve. Thank you.
The board received an email from Julie Horn related to this item.
Okay, thanks, Julie. Okay, so we're going to bring this back now for further deliberation, and I know I've interrupted Trustee Nicola. You're on.
No worries. I just really want to thank my colleague, Trustee Woodley. I'm totally on board with the way you articulated the situation. There's so many things that I would like to see us do. Everyone's mentioned something, and I hope someday that we can slowly onboard some of these. And do not take this as an insult, but all of these numbers are really perceived savings. And so I want to be very careful about how we decide to spend them until we're absolutely certain that they're real. And again, no insults here, until they're absolutely real and we are able to identify in a systematic way our priorities together, not just as a board, but together as a district.
Thank you. Trustee Smith.
I had one more clarifying question. I know we were looking at textbooks in this year's budget. Are we approaching when we might find out if that could apply to this year?
We are a week or 2 away from getting the final distributions of secured property taxes, and then we can answer that definitively.
That is really good news. And that could create, if I remember correctly, that number would be more than what we even used for this year's contingency fund, so that would backfill what we used from the contingency fund this year and might even have a little extra, right?
We budget 3.1 million for textbooks, and so this, if property taxes are realized the way we project them to, that would offset that general fund cost of 3.1 million, thereby helping our current budget, our current fiscal year by 3.1 million. And then, as you know, the board took action to incorporate capital funding of textbooks in future years. So we have accounted for that in preparing the 27 budget.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Mr. President, if I may stay. And we'll go ahead and get advice from the council, but going back to that first analysis, and I really do appreciate everybody's perspectives on this. But time and time again, we've told the community that we're not closing schools just to save money. And as the trustee, that, for example, is over the zone of Booth. Of course, I share that with President Mayberry as well, and we all collectively share that responsibility. The standard equation of what we provide for support still recognizes that there are unique situations that the standard equation does not fit with. And so when I look at a potential proposed zone that has all of the Reno Sparks Indian Colony and every single child currently living in a homeless shelter, I really do wonder if there is a way to offer some reinvestment, which is why my advocacy is just to continue the conversation. It's not to direct anything, but rather, like you've identified 20%, we may not need that much. If you were to continue the conversation, by the way, I'm gonna go to a motion here, you may come back with a much lower number based on evaluating that need in partnership with the association, because you just said, you know, social workers are 90K. I don't know what you'll come back with. All I know is that I would like to continue having the conversation, and then the board can decide what they want to do with it. But I definitely have not voted to close any of these schools because I expected all of this to be a savings. That would be a bit different than how we've been promising our community we're going to handle this. And by the way, everybody can vote yay or nay. So if I want to make sure we have the additional deliberation time, but when the time comes, I would, and I do plan on making a motion to continue this one specific item for further consideration with the staff.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Smith. I think Superintendent has something to add.
Thank you, President Mayberry. Yeah, just to kind of build on some of those unknown costs and actualizing savings. I think we have exercised some pretty sound judgment, fiscally responsible in terms of our obligation to taxpayers. I think you look at the rezone that we're looking at. Certainly we're going to have additional transportation costs. We don't know exactly what those might be. And I think it's just to help round out the understanding of what will the actual costs all be. And I think that there are options in terms of collaborative schools and ways that they can use some of those monies. And so just to offer some additional perspective as you are all deliberating about if you want further analysis or not. And then if that deliberation ultimately arrived at yes, you would want further analysis, I think it'd be helpful for us staff. What does in partnership with associations mean? If you could help us understand that, I think we've made some real earnest efforts to do that. I think we have feedback, and so if you could help on that as well. So before you move to those deliberations and voting, I just wanted to offer that perspective as well.
Any other comments? Yeah. Trustee Westlake.
Thank you, President Mayberry. I like the cautious approach that Vice President Woodley said to let's not be spending yet until we know exactly what we have and where we're going to land. But I also like the idea that Trustee Smith mentioned, that we really do need to invest back into the schools, any savings. But I think we can be cautious and wait and see what's the best way to spend those dollars. If we don't say we need to keep looking at this, keep analyzing this, keep thinking about how we can support those schools, then it kind of dies. And it was kind of like the thing I was saying about the guest teachers being paid as long-term subs. I think it's important for us to keep these things at the forefront so that we don't lose sight of the really important things. Yes, we've got to balance the budget. Yes, we don't want to spend money if we don't, if we can't really afford to. But that doesn't mean we should atrophy and not keep flexing those muscles on supporting our kids, supporting the schools. So I think we really probably should keep this in the arena and not throw all of this out, because that's the surest way we're gonna, there's a lot going on. There's always something new, and I think it's important we keep our eye on the ball. Doesn't mean we're whipping out our wallets and paying for things, but it's there, we know it's there, and we have an intent to keep it fresh so that we don't lose sight of it. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that all our schools have needs. That's, I just don't want us to put the cart before the horse. That's my biggest concern. And I just want to be absolutely sure on what these needs are. So that's some of the concern that I have. Are there any further questions and comments? Yes, Trustee Smith, go ahead.
I think Superintendent Ernst had a great question. Thank you so much, President Mayberry. So having made the original motion for this that brought the analysis forward, it sounds like you did it in partnership, because working with the associations means really understanding what their unique needs are. So, like, for example, we're showing the part-time clerical aid, but really talking with them to make sure that we understand how important. I've been told on many occasions from the schools that I represent how important really a full-time clinical aid is, particularly with families and highly transient populations. So it's really just making sure that you're in these meetings with them, hearing what their experiences are, and it sounds like you did that in this case. So I'm perfectly happy with how this all rolled out. I think you're doing it just right. It just ensures that those conversations are happening, but I think you definitely did that with this. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Were you saying clerical aid or clinical aid? Sorry, just to clarify.
Clerical.
Okay.
Clerical aid, because that was one of the examples that the team had.
Those are different.
Yes, yes, they are different. Thank you.
What I've asked with Mr. Mathers to do is, there's essentially the potential of 7 actions in this one item, 3.01. So we're just going to take them one at a time. Don't even, okay.
Sorry.
Clerk Hall.
I just wanted to bring us on a level set about this item of the cost savings versus the spending. And one of the things that I heard, and I just want to elevate this, is that in these conversations, that the current staff of the schools had an opportunity. I'm going to guess it was mostly administrative conversations. Seems like there was an opportunity to kind of say, hey, when these schools are consolidated, this is what the budget will look like. And so what I want to elevate is that, I think, is the most important conversation that needs to happen about this, is like, okay, so what is your school going to look like now? What is your Title I budget? What is your at-risk budget going to look like? And what are the options you have now? And it sounds like those conversations got started with this process, and I wanted to elevate that, because I don't think that we got to that place. And once they have whoever is going to be, I assume that we're not hiring new principals because we're just zoning kids into a new school. So if the principal at Booth and Echo Loader are the same principal, and they're still there, they're going to have an opportunity to kind of look at their school and say, this is what we really need. And then if they need more because of this really big change, I think that we've kind of given them this opening to say to their area soup, hey, there's a lot going on with this change. What can I do with this funding to potentially upgrade this social worker to a full-time position or something? I think that conversation got started with this, and I think that was the most important piece, and I just didn't want us to miss that part of the conversation. I'm fine with us continuing to kind of have this idea like, oh, if there's cost savings and we can, in this dream world, do all these amazing things, awesome, right? We all want to do that. But they've been dealing with the budgets they have, not the budgets they're gonna get. And so just even getting to have that conversation about the budget they're going to have really changes the game for that school. And I think that's an important first step. And maybe there's additional steps. I think what Trustee Westlake was saying is all of these conversations need to keep happening. But I don't know that personally that we necessarily need to have a ton more analysis right now. I think that we can kind of say, this was really great and helpful. Let's hold for a minute until we get some other things figured out, until we know exactly how much we're gonna save. I think that's kind of what I'm hearing from everyone, and I just wanted to make sure we were level setting on that one.
Thank you, Clerk Hall. Okay, so yeah, let's get the business going. So again, we have potential 7 actions. We'll take each one, and colleagues, some of them don't require a motion. I mean, don't feel like you have to make a motion. I just want to do this methodically. Staff did the time, gave us the time, and did their due diligence for possible action on some of our requests. We'll get a chance to make a motion on all of them or not. So we'll start with the first one, which is not an analysis. And I'm happy to entertain a motion on approved and continued funding for early learning assistance for fiscal year 27, only on 1- and 2-star schools and 3-star collaboration schools using the general fund contingency account and the weighted funding.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second to approve the said noted item. Is that sufficient? Any further discussion? Questions? Okay.
I just have
Yes.
one very quick thing, is that I would really implore us to continue to push the legislature to restore this funding because it's incredibly important. And I want to be clear that in making this decision was not easy. I know it was not easy for the superintendent and his team to bring this to us, and we know how important these positions have been. But when the funding is no longer there, we have to do our best for what we have. So I just want to make sure that we have that at top of mind for the 27th session.
President?
Yes, Trustee Nicolai.
I'm going to apologize because I didn't hear what I think is an important component that Clerk Hull just referenced without saying, and that is the for FY27 only, which is different than what was read. And so I'm looking at the motion that was originally written. And it says, I'm just saying it, I'm not moving anything.
Okay.
That the Board of Trustees approves funding for early learning assistance at 1- and 2-star schools and 3-star collaborative schools for FY27 only. So I'm feeling a little confused now.
Is there something you can clarify, Mr. Mathers?
That is the intention here, that this is just for this fiscal year. We would see how the 2027 session goes. We'll also see how this grant award goes. And this is really just a backstop contingency action to preserve these positions and let these employees know, these 41 employees know, your positions are preserved now, right ahead of when we might hear, and we're not really sure when we'll hear on this new grant. So it really is just a fiscal year 27 measure only. Thank you for clarifying.
So, General Counsel, I have a question. How should we move forward to make sure we include the for FY27 only?
So I believe when President Mayberry read the summary from the slide up there, it includes the fiscal year 27, and so Vice President.
You did read that?
Yes. And then that's when
Very
Vice
sorry.
President Woodley said
Thank
so
you.
moved, so.
That's why I originally apologized, because I was reading this, and all right, I continue, I second. Thank you for your patience.
You lost me.
Yes. So easy.
It's okay. All right, seeing no further lights on, no further questions, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, that motion carries unanimously. So now we're going to go to the 6 analysis that were performed by staff, and we'll go line by line. Again, I'll read each analysis and entertain a motion, and if there's no motion, then we'll move on. First one is the analysis use a portion of school consolidation savings to reallocate to high needs schools. Is there a motion?
I would like to make a motion. Just as a point of clarification, because of the school consolidation, we've actually never had a single school where 100% of the children in our homeless shelters and the entirety of the Reno Sparks Indian Colony would be going to one single school, because some of those shelters and the Reno Sparks Indian Colony currently go to Roger Corbett. And I've also never seen a situation where a school that was very devastated by losing a social worker or a portion of a social worker was ever granted it back. I'm not saying it's never happened, but I still believe that this is something that needs to be continued to be looked at, because a principal, we're not even approving zoning until the next item, folks. So we don't have a new zone team. I can't really champion this because we don't have a zone until after item 4.04. That's why I don't know how we could really be deciding this right now. I don't have a school zone or even a principal to be thinking about what does my school need, because we have not yet taken the action to make this new school zone. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to continue this conversation with the staff, and then we'll just see where it lands, and we're on the record. I move that the Board of Trustees directs the superintendent to continue the analysis of reinvesting a portion of the school consolidation savings in partnership with the associations.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor with.
I have a motion on the floor from Trustee Smith. Is there a second for that? To continue the conversation. Yes.
Do you make the friendly before the second or after the second?
After.
Okay, I second it, and
Okay.
I want to make a friendly.
Okay, we got a motion from Trustee Smith, a second from Trustee Westlake to continue this dialogue. Any further discussion? I see Vice President Woodley's light is on. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just a point of clarification. If we had this come back, what type of timeline are we looking at? Because I would prefer it to be after the next budget, after we approve the next budget.
I would say I would be happy for it to come back whenever staff believes it's time to come back.
That was what my friendly was going to be, is can we at least have something out there saying when it's coming back to us? A date, a time frame.
Mr. Mathers, go ahead.
Well, I
know
hear
you're looking for direction.
I hear two different timeframes. I hear one before finalization of fiscal year 27 budget, and one after finalization of fiscal year 27 budget, i.e. for the 27-28 budget. So we really would need clarification what the motion is.
If it would be amenable to my second, I would, seeing as we don't even have new zones to look at until after a future action, my request would be that this come back before we send the final budget to the state. And if staff at that point says, we'd like to just keep this on the radar for in the future, we could then take that action at that time to just keep it on the radar. But I imagine this would come back before we send a final budget to the state.
I'm good with that.
Does that align with the expectations?
So she asked for clarification of friendly amendment. Are you accepting the friendly amendment? And is the way she clarified what the friendly amendment would be in terms of time frame, be it what you are requesting?
Yes.
And then do you accept that friendly amendment?
I accept that
Okay.
friendly amendment.
And then I guess you seconded, so I'm
I
assuming it was
second,
okay.
Okay, so I understand that the motion has a friendly, and that this would come back prior to the final budget being adopted. Okay, is that clear? Good. Vice
I
President.
just want to share my 2 cents. I don't want to see this before we adopt a budget. I'd rather, if it was after we adopt the budget and we were done with our budget, then I would feel more comfortable. But I really, once again, I just don't want to be looking at any kind of expenditure before we end our next budget year.
I just want to make sure I'm remembering the timeline, because we've talked about a lot of schools closing and all that. So the consolidations, the first one is Pine this year, right? So this school year, but our elementary consolidations, none of them are starting for this fall, right? So regardless, this would not occur until the following budget year anyway, because none of the elementaries would be consolidated until that budget year, correct?
I think that's right. I mean, I
I just wanna make
think
sure.
we won't realize any savings until 27, 28.
I see a phone a friend in the back, 2 people very intimately involved in this, all shaking their heads, so yes. So, with that thought, I really hear what you're saying, is that this budget year, this isn't gonna impact us anyway. And so, it may seem like the best thing for us to give this a little bit more time to kind of see what happens with a few other things that the district is working on and staff is working on. So I guess, okay, I will go ahead.
And this is why I value dialogue so much, because now I have, well, when I was making this motion, we do have school consolidation that starts next year in the next budget. And so that's why I felt it should come back before we finalize the budget for next year. But thanks to the power of dialogue, I understand where you're coming from more. And so I will ask my second if we can revoke the friendly so that we can continue this conversation at a future point when it would come into play for this specific scenario. So we're going to continue the conversation just on a different timeline, which meets my need for this. But we are going to continue this conversation. It's just that the scenario that we're discussing doesn't actually take place until for another fiscal year.
Can we make it more specific as to when that is? Maybe not an exact, the second Tuesday of January at 4 o'clock, but can we say before or during the discussion of next year's budget?
In the next budget cycle.
I was going to say the same thing. I would recommend we just do this after this fiscal budget is passed. And at the next budget cycle, that would be a good time to continue the dialogue. Yeah.
I agree.
And I'm comfortable with that as well, by the way.
Yeah.
I think we might need to.
Okay.
I think it would be cleaner to just revoke the entire motion and redo it with all of the discussion. So or we could just vote to deny either one.
Okay.
I think we can just revoke
say
it
you would like to
and
remove
start
that.
another one.
Yes.
Okay, it's the same one as the original one, which is still just that I move that the Board of Trustees directs the superintendent to continue the analysis of reinvesting a portion of the school consolidation savings in partnership with the association, and then I could add and bring that forward in the next year's budgetary analysis process.
Second.
Okay, Trustee Nicolai, I apologize. You had your light on earlier. Do you have anything to add? I'm sorry.
Thank you for coming back to that. Just very quickly is I did not want this work to be put upon the district at this time, and so I'm very comfortable with that. There's a lot to do, a lot going forward, and I'm comfortable now.
Okay, okay, good, yeah, good dialogue, I appreciate that. If there's no further discussion, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, okay, motion carries unanimously. Very good, thank you. I would like to ask, does anybody, without going from 2 to 6 now, does anybody want to make a motion on any of those line items? If not, we're going to close this item out. Okay? Okay, seeing none. All right, we're going to conclude. Item 3.01, Mr. Mathers, Mr. Balzo, thank you for putting up with this. Thank you for your work, your due diligence. Yeah.
We have all the applause for everybody else.
Take the rest of the week off.
This is hard work.
Just kidding.
Okay, we're done.
I know that we have 3 more items to talk about, but if we can just indulge us in about a 10-minute break, and we will resume here momentarily. Thank you.
Yeah. Are you talking about? We did 1, 2, 3, 4. Strategic goal 2. Thank you.
Oh, this one, sorry. I kind of spread.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. Good. Good. So, you ever filmed with us? I bet that'll be a hoot. No, that's great. Won't be long now. Another chapter. Of course.
Yeah. Same old, same old. Yeah.
What, do Tuesdays?
It's good. Yeah. Hey.
That makes sense. Is it across the district? Is it still in the club?
It's a recognized
Very cool.
That's fun. It'll be easier that way.
The new results, that's a
Support what the plan is.
How about you? I'm not supporting this. Yeah.
Remember that, that's where we met. Yeah.
It's a cool little community that pops up in this campus. Great. That's sort of the point of this big house, right? Yeah. That's sort of, that's
You're busy. Always busy. I mean, well, what about right now? Oh, wait now. Sure. On mine is, as of right now,
Just you.
I felt like that sushi
Alright, so when our pictures. Oh, yeah. Well, actually, just sort of like
Yeah, Tammy was kind enough to fix that. No problem. We're talking about you. See you. You are. Did you go to the pine meeting last week?
No, because I had to work. Overtime.
Well, how we doing?
Good, how are you?
I always like when you say, there are no comments for this item.
No comments for this item. I like that.
Good times.
Oh, good.
Yes.
I thought
So
that
she's
they
not-
did, and I see
that
like,
was-
all kinds of stuff. Yeah. They're coming along, it's gonna be a unique design, that's returning what we see before, I think it's really sweet. It is very sweet, they don't have it all done yet. You know, I think that would be like, the meeting, like schedule tomorrow. Well, you got snow out, it was scheduled, and it snowed so bad, and then we canceled it, that was scheduled, so I think a lot of people couldn't make it, or didn't get it. Yeah, maybe, second, or half, after travel, those, what the,
So I can't tell.
It's for this. You guys are great.
When we get up.
They're gonna want some.
Yes.
Good, how are you? Hi.
What's your name?
Claire. Claire? Claire. Claire has a very soft. I love that.
It's a good thing there's a microphone. Did you practice the microphone? She practiced, not with the microphone. Okay. Sometimes when you hear your own voice in the microphone, it's not, yeah. Okay, yeah.
I love your hair.
It's beautiful.
Voila.
I assume he's gonna call more item.
Huh?
I assume he's gonna have more item in zoning.
Yes. Tyler can wait. Claire cannot wait. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. You have a quorum. You can start.
I know, we've been a little, we're testing Sarah today.
She just like, it was like a.
I like to change.
Let's have her practice together.
How are you, JJ?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Sorry, you have to remind us every Thursday to do it.
No, it's okay. You guys have a lot on your mind, and it's not a big deal. They're coming back now.
This place starts superintendent and our.
We were going to start without you guys, so.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon.
Very much.
Who am I?
So, thanks everybody. We're gonna go to item 4.04. This is our milestones and momentum presentation to provide the board and trustees an overview of progress made on strategic plan goal 2, student voice and advocacy. And our primary presenter is Dr. Paul Lamarca, our Chief Student Supports Officer. He has a like a all-star lineup, so I will let him make those introductions, and I will turn it over to him.
Thank you, President Mayberry, Superintendent Ernst, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Paul Mark. I'm the Chief Student Services Officer, and it is my pleasure to introduce this item. I'm not the primary speaker. On Goal 2, Student Voice and Advocacy. You're going to hear from an amazing group of people today. We'll get to our school in a minute. I know that's the best part of this. You'll hear from Maya Hartley, our student representative, Rochelle Maria, our Director of Intervention, Lauren Ford, our Area Superintendent, and Maria Fernandez, our Director of Family School Partnerships. Quickly, let me just orient us to where we're at. And I know you've seen this several times. We were just here with you 2 weeks ago in February to talk about Goal 5. Tonight we're talking about student voice and advocacy. And either in April or May, I believe it's on the calendar for April right now, we'll be talking to you about safety and belonging in Goal 3. In terms of student voice and advocacy, we're going to highlight 3 action areas. We're going to get an update on our student advisory committees. We're going to talk about expansion of clubs and activities. And then we had added an action item this year, you know that. And we're going to talk about middle school transitions, which we think are incredibly important. So now the fun part. We are highlighting today a beautiful neighborhood school, Peavine Elementary. Peavine is a Title I school. In 2024, they were a 3-star school. Last year, they increased that to a 4-star school. In addition to things like increasing reading, increasing math, increasing science, decreasing chronic absenteeism, they have somehow figured out, although I think I heard from Ms. Dufresne that she knows how they figured this out, but they have 100% of their students in clubs and activities. Wow. So it's my pleasure to introduce our principal, Amy Howe, and her amazing 5th grade student, Claire Oakley.
Welcome. She deserves all the applause. I had to write this down so I say it right. Good afternoon, President Mayberry, Superintendent Ernst, and board members. Amy Howe, Principal of Peavine Elementary, for the record. I'm here to talk about the great things that we're doing at Peavine. I'm super excited about it. I was told to tell you a little bit about myself, so I'm going to make that really fast. I've been in the district for 21 years. I've been at lots of schools. I've been in lots of roles. By far, my very favorite is to be the principal at Peavine. We are Title I. We do lots of family events. We do lots of things that make school a lot of fun, which honestly is my core belief. I believe school ought to be fun. Everybody should feel like they want to be there. Families, students, teachers, and the learning is going to follow. As far as, before I start talking about clubs, I do want to say it was Denise Dufresne's idea. And she gave me this idea, I think 3 years ago. This is our 2nd year of clubs. And honestly, it took me a hot minute to sell it to the teachers. But now we just did a survey the other day, and overwhelmingly, the first question is, what should we keep doing next year? Overwhelmingly, clubs. So it's had a huge impact on our culture, on our students, and just their access to things other than just academics. I made notes. Let me look at my notes. So the way that we do clubs is almost every single staff member, including classified, my secretary, or clinical aide, they hold a club. And some clubs are for kinder, 1st and 2nd grade, some are for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And they change each quarter. We do them every other Friday. We chose Friday because Friday was our worst day for absenteeism. So we targeted that day on purpose. Now our absenteeism on Friday is down for some reason. Now it's Thursday, so maybe clubs will be Thursday next year. But we have clubs that range from, I was watching rockets go off on Friday with an air pump that they had built the rockets in class. So we have science, we have Legos, we have board games, chess, scrapbooking. Claire is a scrapbooking connoisseur. She brought her scrapbook to share with you also. We have crochet, we have virtual field trips, we have all kinds of outdoor ones with basketball, track and field, speed and agility, wiffle ball. So there's a wide range of clubs for kids to choose from, and they get to choose every quarter. So we're getting ready to, I brought my dean Jessica Strong with me. She's the one who sort of places them all in clubs and organizes that. But the little kids get a paper with pictures and the name of the club, and they choose the top 3 clubs that they're interested in. The big kids get a Microsoft form, and they choose the 3 clubs that they're interested in, and then we sort them into clubs. And by far, my favorite part of the week is clubs. We don't have, I feel I need to knock on wood, but we don't have behavior problems. The kids are so happy to be there. The teachers love it because it is something that they have chosen to do and they want to do, and they're sharing with the kids. And the only expectation I really give teachers is the kids need to learn something at the end. For the most part, they're learning how to work together, how to work with kids of different ages. The teachers and the kids are making a ton of connections. One of the first comments I got after we started clubs from a teacher who really didn't want to do clubs was she says, "Oh my gosh, I see what you mean now. Like, I'm seeing some of my old students, I'm seeing new students, I get to know who they are." The kids will tell you that they get to know different teachers that they might not have before. So it's been great for connections and culture and just everybody wanting to be there. Some of the other things that we do at Peavine is we have a lot of family events that aren't necessarily academic, but they're long traditions there. So families are always coming to Peavine. We do Chili Fest. We have a night at Discovery Museum at night. We're just doing one at the planetarium. We're a Redfield school, so we benefit from Redfield also. We have a really great PTA. PTA helps us. We finally, this year, very first year, get to be in the soccer league. I'm so excited. We had our first game last weekend, and our PTA helped us buy equipment for the soccer team. We also are doing Girls on the Run this year for the first year. So we have a lot of opportunities for our students so that they feel connected to school and they're happy to be at Peavine. I think that's all I have to tell you because I really want you to hear from my friend Claire. Are you ready, Claire? Okay, she wrote a wonderful little thing for you.
Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Claire Colley, and I am a 5th grader at Peavine Elementary School. Today, I'm going to talk about my reasons why more schools should have clubs. Clubs are an important part of our school. It helps people express themselves in many ways, like if you play soccer. People that play soccer use soccer to express themselves. For me, however, I express myself through drawing and coloring. Drawing and coloring helps me feel relaxed and calm. Clubs are important in many other ways too. Clubs can teach people how to do things like how to play chess, how to draw, and how to make bracelets. Schools should have clubs and activities to do to relax before school and help them get ready for the long day ahead or before school ends to help them get relaxed for their parents for the rest of the day. Either way, it still helps them, either if it's to meditate or have a quick game. More schools should have clubs and activities that helps kids learn to be creative and express themselves. It helps them make friends and that have the same interests as them and helps them find new things they might like. Thank you for listening to my reasons why more schools should have activities and stuff like clubs.
If I could say one more thing that I didn't mention, Claire, you're not Club, Claire is a self-manager. That is another program that we have at school. So for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, students can apply each quarter to be a self-manager, which means that they have good behavior, they're on top of their assignments and their grades, and they're friendly and kind to their classmates. And Claire has been a self-manager, I think, as long as she's been at Peavine. So she is a great role model for other students.
Well, that's wonderful. Principal Howell, thank you so much for coming before us and highlighting your school and all you do. And Clara, I want you to know you are absolutely lovely, and we are so glad that you can come before us and share your story. You're in the scrapbook club, I understand. Are there other clubs that you're in? It looks like you brought a scrapbook for us to look at, right? You want to hold that up? Very nice.
All right.
Awesome. That's awesome. Are you in any other clubs?
No.
No? Okay. Scrapbook is probably a full-time job. So
I believe she's chosen scrapbook every quarter.
Okay.
And I asked her in the whole
She knows
room
what
what
she
she
wants.
was choosing this next time. She said scrapbooking.
Well, I think I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent, who's got a few things to say, and then we're going to take a picture, and I think he's going to present with you a certificate. So, Superintendent Ernst.
Well, Claire, thank you for coming today and sharing your perspective. It was really a great writing sample that you just did. You shared all of the reasons why clubs are so important, and it's really been something that's meant a lot to all of us. We agree. The more clubs we have, the more our students will be interested, just like you are with your scrapbooking club. And so you had great reasons in there, and that was a really good piece of writing. So you should be really proud of yourself, okay? And Mrs. Howe, just a thank you to you for being here tonight to be alongside Claire and speak to the work that you are doing at Peavine. We appreciate that. And Claire, since you are here this evening, about once a month, we like to celebrate an exemplary student. That means someone that's doing really, really good. And so what we have here is our Exemplary Student Award that we are going to share with you on behalf of all the great things that you're doing at Peavine. So if we can give this to you and take a picture with your family, we would love to do that. So congratulations, Claire.
They like everybody up there.
The zipper method.
Zipper, it's called the zipper.
You gotta get in front with your award. Yeah. First student at the front. You're good. Everybody. I can see everyone. Big smiles. Look at me. 1, 2, 3. Keep looking. All right. Great job, guys. Thank you. Good job, Claire. No, I'll download these first. We'll see.
That's awesome.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Rochelle Murray. I'm the Director of the Intervention Department. Maya, our President of the Student Advisory Council, and I have the large job of going after Claire. But I want to introduce Maya. She is our President and has been representing our students. I also want to acknowledge in the audience today we have Brad Rose and Caprice Young. They are our leaders, our amazing leaders of Student Voice. And they're here today to make sure that I'm doing the right job. But I'm going to turn it over to Maya because she's going to give you a sense of what Student Advisory Council has been like for her and what we've been working on this year.
So basically, Student Voice or Student Advisory Council is a group of students that are trying to create positive change in our schools. And one of our main goals is to gain insight from as wide of a range of students as we possibly can. So people from every walk of life, every academic path, and we try to gain as many different experiences in the schools as we can so that we can help improve the schools for the most people. And it gives our students the opportunity to communicate about both the positive and the negative aspects of their schools so that we can try and help improve or continue growing. And create real change by putting them in contact with their principals, school administrators, and people basically in power that can create change in their schools.
Thank you. Wonderful. So this year, our Student Advisory Council at the district level has had representatives from every high school. We meet monthly. We're meeting tomorrow. And we have identified several different areas our students have that they're really interested in pursuing and exploring. First, there's been an expansion of working with our central office leadership to begin to incorporate student voice into the decision-making process. So athletics is one area that we have been partnering with to listen to student voice. The council has also worked on several topics that you see on our slide today that impact and interest them. One of them is passion classes. These are potential classes where topics are driven by student interest and passion that allow students to earn credits in areas of great interest and relevancy. An example of that is at Galena High School, where the speech and debate class is very interested in pursuing a passion class that would incorporate podcasts where they can explore current topics that impact students. Our Student Voice Conference is coming up. So I'd like to invite all of you May 8th at Team CC. We're very excited. It should be a wonderful, great event for us to attend. Also within this slide, we went over that. Okay. Let me go back. Okay, sorry, went too far. Many examples of student voice have been incorporated across this district. Schools like Worcester High School have actively been engaging in students' leadership and advisory roles. One area that they worked on this year is providing feedback on facilities modernization and building beautification. We are really excited about our student climate results this year. We had over 30,000 students that participated in this climate survey. You'll see that there were additional questions regarding club participation and student voice that were added in 24-25. There were improvements in all areas. With also of exception is in perception around bullying, improving the most at 3%. So we're excited to see that positive growth in every single area that we surveyed students in. When we specifically break down the questions for student voice and club participation, of the new questions that were added in 24 and 25, we saw student responses were overwhelmingly positive, with some of the most positive responses in relation to opportunities to engage in sports, clubs, and other school activities outside of class. And finally, I leave you with this statement that our students would like to share is when students are partners in leadership, we strengthen trust, belonging, and outcomes. Student advisory counselors are not just a program, they are a commitment to shared leadership in the Washington County School District.
President Mayberry, Superintendent Ernst, Board of Trustees, for the record, Lauren Ford, Area Superintendent, and I'm going to speak with you about the expansion of clubs and activities. And I have some data to share with you. So over 16,000 students, K-12, have participated in either a club, co-curricular, or athletics up to this point in the school year right now. Over 40% of our secondary students are engaged in at least one of these. And we have 449 clubs available to students, and that keeps growing. And that is up from our previous school year where we had 300. So that is great. I want to comment a little bit about the expansion of soccer. We have 53 schools this year and over 1,300 students participating at the elementary school level. Middle school level, wrestling has seen quite the jump in participation for both boys and girls. One of my students here, Louis, stated that if it wasn't for wrestling, he doesn't know what he would be doing besides going home. So he really enjoys wrestling. He's a Sparks Middle School student. High schools, this year Proctor Hug High School traveled to Las Vegas. They participated in the Science Bowl. They have a Science Bowl team. They competed against the Regional Science Bowl competition in Las Vegas, right? It was a day of intense, high-speed rounds against top teams in Nevada, and I'm proud to say that they took second place in the state of Nevada. Wow. Congratulations to them. Debbie Smith CTE, of course, opened this school year, and I'm proud to tell you that the National Honor Society chapter has just started, and the Key Club became officially chartered. So that's great news. So spotlight on some analysis. Our staff in the Office of Accountability conducted a statistical analysis to further explore if there might be an association between club participation and attendance and GPA. These models are especially helpful because they take into account other reasons why GPA or attendance might be high or low and tries to separate just the relationship between clubs and academic outcomes. Some of the things we separate out are last year's GPA, prior patterns of grades and attendance, demographics, and school attended, which we already know are going to predict students' future attendance and grades. The numbers you see on the left are estimates that try to separate just the relationship between clubs GPA and absenteeism. At the high school level, they did find some evidence that club participation is associated with lower absenteeism and a higher GPA, including the students who are at high risk of not graduating. However, as you can see on the chart on the right, there are some students who are more likely to participate in clubs than others. Gifted and talented students who are not identified as being at risk. High-risk students are less likely to participate in middle school, and in middle school, students with an IEP and those who receive free and reduced lunch are equally likely to participate. These findings are correlational, so it does not necessarily mean that when more students participate in clubs, attendance will automatically improve, but it does highlight the potential importance of providing opportunities for students to engage with things at school they're interested in and enjoy. I am going to pass it to Maria.
All right, good afternoon.
President Mayberry, Superintendent Ernst, and board members. This is Maria Fernandez. I'm the Department of the Family School Partnerships. I'm not the department, I'm the director. This is my first time, as you can see, I'm happy to be here. But I'm here to tell you the story about the transition to middle school events that we supported last year with some wonderful schools. As you can see on this slide, these events happen at Sparks Middle, O'Brien, and Trainer. A total of 5 schools supported it. However, we only have one slide, so I only got 3 pictures. And why are we highlighting this? Well, as we know, if our kids become chronically absent in 6th grade, and they fail math or reading at the beginning of their path in middle school, then there's a possibility that they're not going to be graduating from high school. So it is critical for us to engage families at an early stage, which is this huge transition that they're going to be experiencing, not necessarily only in academics, but also in their healthy development. So we know that their brains are changing, and it's very important that our families feel supported by the school sites in terms of how do I navigate this new arena with their child. So transition work happened, as I already mentioned, in 5 schools. And we know that it's not something new in our district, but we are trying to do more transformational work. So we are highlighting 5 schools that took it upon themselves last year to engage in this work. How do we transition from transactional to a more transformational, which means that we are focusing on building relationships with our families and giving them the tools that they need to support their kids. So at these events, and I'll give you some data, we had 1,500 families that participated across the 5 middle schools that we partnered with. And during this time, families had an opportunity to attend workshops. And one of the workshops that I want to highlight today is the Healthy Habits in Social Media, which emphasizes the, I have to look at that because I'm like, going phone away and learn today policy that the board trustees approved last year. So it was essential. It was an opportunity for us to mention that during this session because we know that kids need to be learning at schools, and we also needed the support of the families when it comes to putting the phone away. Another thing that I want to highlight from these events is that our families had an opportunity to start building relationships with school staff, which is essential when we are talking about 6th grade and the importance of shaping positive attendance habits. So it was another message that we drove home in terms of the importance of being in school and feel supported. Another data point that I want to share with you is that our families felt that the events were high quality, and there was a 97% responses that would recommend this event to other families. We also had an 89% that rated the quality and the usefulness as an above average or outstanding. So they were well perceived, and this is why we are moving forward with more events like those. And in the spring, we are going to support up to 10 sites moving with transformational work. And also, we are providing professional learning to school teams to do this work. And we are also sharing with schools the toolkit that was created in case they want to take this work if we don't have any more space to support. As we know, we have more than 10 middle schools, so schools can go ahead and use this toolkit to implement their own work at their own schools with less support than the 10 schools that we're focusing on. The other change that we have for this spring is the content expansion. So we are focusing on attendance supports and other emerging topics that our families need support with. So why do we do this work? I just want to close with saying that we need the support of our families. We need everyone to feel that they are part of this equation. And also when they leave these events, we want families to feel connected, valued, and safe in these school buildings. We really want to support them to grow their capacity to support their kids at home. And we know that it's beyond helping with homework. It's helping kids in a different capacity, and that takes different set of skills. So we're here to support them with what they need to make it happen.
That's wonderful. This is a discussion item only. Any questions, comments from my colleagues. Clerk Hall.
I just have a really quick one. Lauren, when you were going over that data, you mentioned another side of the slide, and I don't think that we've got that. My only question is, would that be possibly, could we get that emailed to us? Because it sounded like really great data, and I'm a visual learner, and I just want to see it. Thank you.
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Trustee Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. Couple really quick questions. How is the expansion of student voice going in elementary schools?
Well, you saw some of the student voice with clubs today at Peavine. So elementary schools are continuing to work on that. So it is going great. Primarily, most of our student voice work is really happening at a middle and high school level, but our elementary schools are sort of exploring that. What does that look like at an elementary level in terms of clubs and what they're interested in and those kinds of things. So it's going well. I would say it's going well, and we have a lot of work to do.
May I add to that?
Yes, please.
I just want to remind the board that prior to this school year, we had 3 student voice coordinators or specialists. And if you remember our budget discussions, that was one of the, I hate to use the word, but casualties. So we have less emphasis at the elementary school level, but we have amazing schools like Peavine that are clearly embracing student voice.
Thank you very much.
Please, yes.
And I appreciate that. And there are so many different ways that you don't need a student voice council necessarily to get student voice. And so that was kind of where I was going with my second question, is that even without a student voice council, we hear a lot from adults about what kids, and particularly elementary school kids, want, but do our principals actively engage them on the things they're really interested in about making their school better? Like, we hear hot topics like lunchrooms, things like that, but are principals engaging their own students in that at those younger levels?
I would say definitely yes. So I see it all the time where principals are talking to their students and engaging in them. But it's across all grade levels. I used Worcester as an example, and I think David Kitchen is behind me in the audience. I think I saw him. But he is one of those people that are amazing at engaging and really listening and incorporating student voice. But also at elementary school, just sitting down with students and listening to them and hearing them.
Yeah, he's okay. Trustee Phoenix.
Yes, earlier I heard you say that you're building capacity within the families, trying to engage with them, building that trust and being consistent. That's a big component there because the families are really involved. So they go to school, they do a good job, great environment when they go home, to continue to expand upon that. So I really like that you had mentioned that and we're putting a lot of effort in that. But to the group there, how is student feedback being translated into actual policy or program changes? Like, how have you seen like a success story to tell us about? I'd like to hear that.
Okay, I could point to the passion classes. So that's something that students have been really, really interested in pursuing and talking a lot about. They're also really interested in equal access to dual enrollment or expanding access to dual enrollment classes. So we are incorporating some of those ideas and thinking about, are there electives that we can create that are based on the interests of students, that are relevant for them. So that's an example of some of those things that we're seeing in the district.
Yeah, thanks. That's okay. Unless you want to expand upon that, Doc? No, by all means. I just wanted to hear, it's measuring success. We're doing great.
I believe Brad and Caprice could probably talk to this better than I could, but I will mention a couple of things. Like last school year, one of the focus areas for our students was mental health awareness. And so we created murals, I believe, for every high school that are up. And that's a kind of a soft policy change, but it's important because kids see it as a signal it's okay to have these big feelings. And I always go back to Innovations High School. Several years back, through their Student Voice Council, they lobbied for a slowdown, I don't know what you call them, but traffic slowdown in front of their school. They're on 2nd Street. It's a dangerous intersection, and they were able to work very hard and see that result in policy change at the community level.
Thank you for expanding upon that.
Vice President Woodley.
Thank you. First, I just want to say thank you to Brad and Caprice for what you guys do. It's very important, and we really appreciate it. And Caprice, I hope you do call my wife tomorrow so you guys can play volleyball. They play volleyball in the league together. And Ms. Fernandez, I want to express my gratitude to you because one of the conversations I have, sometimes they're abrupt because I'm pretty upfront with people when they try to put all the weight on our teachers with regards to their children and their behavior and what they do and they don't do. And my response is always, what about the parents? You know, so I'm a strong proponent of making sure that parents are involved. So what you do is very important because we do have parents that don't even know. You know, my grandmother, when she was raising me, she didn't know. If we had someone who actually reached out and talked to her and did what you do, I think that would have given me so much more further a head start than what I had. So I want you to know that that's very, very important what you do. And I know you know it because you meet these families and you talk to them and you're like, oh, you didn't have any idea whatsoever, but you're opening their eyes and you're educating them and you're helping them. So I want you to know we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, President Mayberry. I just offer my thanks to so many people out in the audience and our presenters here for the continued pursuit of embracing student voice as kind of an ethos about what the ways in which we operate. Maya, your exemplary examples from the dais, what you share here with us, dual credits, how do we expand that last month of school to make it more meaningful. I think it is far beyond just a council, a formalized way of going about things. It's really something that we want to permeate the entirety of our system in terms of the way we engage, listen, ask our students questions, get feedback from those that we're serving, and sometimes we'll say, may not be able to do that. That's okay. But to get that feedback and continually embrace that, and from that try to make change. So there's a lot of people in the audience that have done a lot of work with student voice throughout the years. And again, I just wanted to offer my thanks. When you look at the targeted areas, when you have limited resources and you cut $18.7 million out of your budget from one year from the prior year, when we target our resources and we look at 6th grade transitions, we're identifying critical areas that we know will help lead to success. You mentioned those two fundamental aspects around attendance and either reading or math and the success that they have. And so when we have limited resources, it's so important for us to be able to target them. If we go too wide, then we may not end up having the impact. And so I appreciate all of the intention that has gone behind the design and then the outreach. And when we see parents, with the number of participating parents that we have and the feedback that we're getting from parents, that's a testimony to the thought and effort that is being put in. And so I just want to thank the team for really having a targeted intention for the work that you're doing, and for students like Maya and all the rest of our wonderful students like Claire today, that just are the heartbeat of Washoe County School District. So just wanted to say thanks to everybody.
Wonderful. Ms. Fernandez, Ms. Morello, Ms. Ford, Ms. Hartley, thank you for contributing to this. Dr. LaMarca, thank you for coming as well. Thank you for being here. Thank you. And we will move on to our final business item. This is item 4.05, a presentation, discussion, and possible action to approve the recommendation of the Zoning Advisory Committee to modify the enrollment boundaries of the following schools for the 27-28 school year: Roger Corbett Elementary, Libby Booth Elementary, Echo Loader Elementary, Smith Ridge Elementary, Veterans Memorial Elementary, Otis Bond Middle School, Demonte Ranch High School, and Earl Roos Wooster High School. Presenters, Tammy Zimmerman is the Chief Facility Management Officer, and Tyler Rogers, our Chair of the Zoning Advisory Committee. Welcome to you both. Thank you.
Thank you, President Mayberry. Thank you for having us this evening. Good evening, trustees. So, for the record, Tammy Zimmerman, Chief Facilities Management Officer, here with Tyler Rogers, Zoning Advisory Chair, to present some zoning recommendations that we've been working on for the last couple months. So the purpose of why we're here tonight is really starting with Veterans Memorial and Roger Corbett closing. And we need to find and zone students in that area for schools at the new Echo Loader that is anticipated to be open in the fall of 2027, and then the modernized elementary school at Booth that'll open in fall of 2027 as well. Really want to speak to the engagement that happened throughout this process, and really want to thank a lot of people, specifically the principals at the schools. Those 4 principals did a tremendous job of outreach with their students and their staff. They also spoke to us regularly in facilities, which helps us to present a presentation and to have those ideas in mind when we do that. But also the communication department, lots of connect eds and lots of interest with that. And then also some of our facility staff actually met with some of the neighborhood advisory boards and that for this. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Chair Rogers just to speak to Zoning Advisory Committee's engagement with those communities and those schools.
Thanks, Chief Zimmerman, Superintendent Ernst, President Mayberry, and trustees. Thanks for giving us space. I think the purpose and the mission, and I guess the duty of the Zoning Advisory Committee is in part to be a voice for the community in this process. And I think during my involvement with some of my peers in the group here is to continue this process of gathering community engagement. I think what you're seeing represented in this process is a continued step forward. And I think every time we go through this process, we are taking a step forward. And I think this process, I do think, has been a meaningful continuation of the importance of community engagement. And so I think it's been a great partnership between Zach and staff to do everything that's on the screen here. I think there are some key themes that surface through this process that you'll see as we get into the maps. I think anytime we approach a zoning decision, there's really sort of 2 aspects. There is looking at a map and looking at lines, but then it's understanding the humans behind those lines. And I think it's the job of Zach to surface those stories to you and know that we have thought through those things in a thoughtful way, so that the decisions that are brought forward to you. I think consistent themes that we heard through this process of sitting down, not only at zoning meetings, but outside of zoning meetings, talking to school staff, talking to these communities, there's sort of 3 key themes that we hear in any sort of zoning decision. The first is the importance of transportation. All of these communities rely heavily on transportation, and I think it has been a key theme over the last year of this. We heard this loud and clear from the Reno Sparks Indian Colony that has actually had fatalities of members of the community crossing busy streets. So it is an absolute safety issue for them. And this was paramount. And it's not only for them, it's anyone that relies heavily on transportation to get safely to school. Special programs was absolutely a key aspect that came through from this process. It was discussed in earlier agenda items, and it'll come up, I think, here a bit. But members of these communities rely heavily on types of services and special programs that meets their needs. And that was a loud aspect that came through from this process, as well as continuity. Folks don't want zoning changes. It is one of our guiding principles from you is to maintain that. And so those are 3 key themes that I think we hear across most of them, but I want to echo. Unique elements that we heard from this process in engaging the Reno Sparks Indian Colony. Myself, Trustee Smith, Vice Chair Coley, and a number of staff went to the Reno Sparks Indian community to hear them, engage them where they are. And they expressed the unique needs of their culture as part of the special programs. But that was a big question from them is, will what the experiences that they're having at Corbett follow them to where they go? And that was a question that we at ZAC didn't feel like we could answer or make a commitment to, but it was loud and clear that they wanted to engage with the district to make sure that their unique experiences were met. It came up earlier tonight. There is an unhoused community that is especially impacted from this part of our community. And so understanding how that impacts the services that that will be serviced at these schools. And then I think the last thing that came up is the future of Wooster. This is a community that is trying to understand what is happening with the facility modernization processes And while the future of Worcester was not a part of this zoning decision, it is clearly on the minds of this community, and they're asking questions, what's going to happen? And I think it behooves all of us to invest time to hear that out, and also and appreciate the magical things that are happening in this community and at Worcester. I had the good fortune to go and visit Worcester to see it firsthand, and I think there's awesome stuff that is happening in this community, and I think they all want to understand what's going to happen as part of that. So a few of the key themes that came out from this process that I wanted to surface that I think will echo as we go through the maps.
Thank you, Chair Rogers. So I want to just we always remind the Zoning Advisory Committee of the administrative regulations that kind of help govern some of their decisions: school of choice, alignment of schools, grandfathering, those ideas. Guidance of Admin Reg 7107, which are kind of their principles, and we help align their decisions with these principles here. We also always try to give them the facility modernization plan and what's going to happen in that neighborhood, because it gives them that forethought to make a decision to where we're zoning students once instead of again. So that's really what kind of bolstered this, was doing this all at once so that we're sending them to the two schools and they can create that culture and that community together and not be rezoned again. So we'll start diving into some of the geography and the option that we're here tonight to present. But first off, we like our names. We could only come up with a Gentry Airway Pocket here. It's not really that catchy, but this is one where we talked about the last time at the elementary on the Pine campus that we needed to find a spot for this section of the zone to go to a school prior to the opening in 28-29 of the elementary on the Pine campus. And so zoning is recommending that this portion, the Gentry Airway Pocket, goes to Smithridge in the school year 27-28, and then will follow into the school on the elementary on Pine campus in 28-29. So it gives them a continuous home, if you will. So this is the current conditions at Smithridge, and then the future projections after that move. So they gain about 36 students, but also you guys are probably wondering why there's Damani Ranch and Worcester on there, because they will go to the Vaughn Middle School, and then they will go from Worcester to Damani Ranch in that time frame, in that 27-28 time frame. So it gives them, they get to go with the kids that they will be with and that community and build that culture again. So that was kind of the cleanup that we promised we'd come back to you guys with, and we did that with this Zoning Advisory Committee meeting. The next area that we're going to talk about is really the Plum, Vassar, Kitski Lane area of these schools. And you'll see the zones that are on the left-hand side, and it's a little hard to read with the white line, but it gets bisected by Kitski. Then you've got several pieces in there that is separated out into Loader, Corbett, Veterans, and Booth. Then on the right, we kind of tried to give them some areas that we're thinking about based off of those major roadways and how we can work with that. So that's why we've shown you the map there, and then we'll color code them in our next map for you guys so we can talk about them specifically. But what Zoning Advisory Committee is recommending today is this option 1 here, which has the North Veterans Elementary, which is in the orange, going to the modernized Booth, and they are in the walk zone, except for a little portion on the west side, and those will get transportation. So the black star depicts walking, and the white star depicts that they will get transportation. And that is something we heard loud and clear from this community, that they needed transportation across those major streets. Then we talk about the South Veterans, which is in the red. They will be proposed to be zoned to Loader, and they will get transportation. That's what that white star means. And then we move on to North Corbett, which is green. It looks like it's a big area, but remember, a lot of that is industrial area as well. So that is proposed to go to Libby Booth, and they will gain transportation with that. Now we talk about Central Corbett, which is in the purple. They will go to Loader Elementary School, and they will get transportation across Plum and Kitski. Then we talk about the South Corbett, which is in blue, and they will get transportation to Loader across Kitski Lane. So it cleans that up. They get transportation, which was something, again, that we heard loud and clear. So the current conditions are on the left-hand side, kind of messy. And then a proposed option for number 1 is on the right-hand side. It does centralize Booth within that zone, if you think about most of it being an industrial area, and centralizes Loader within that zone down to the south. We heard that this was probably one of the best options that they saw, right, out of a lot of our zoning options in the last year or so. Makes it pretty clean. And then you can also see the current conditions for projections on the left with Booth and Loader, and then the new projections if option 1 is approved tonight with them on the right. Balancing them out, but also thinking about those major roadways and where you can define those lines.
Add a few more things from zoning too. Do you mind go back one? I mean, this option 1 was a unanimous recommendation from the zoning committee, and I think what stood out to us was it checks so many of the guiding principles that you have handed down to us, and I think is probably one of the cleaner zoning maps that I have seen. We did study and heard from the community over the course of, I think we had at least 3, maybe 4 meetings that this item came up, was studying and sort of maintaining communities to go into the same school as opposed to splitting up Corbett and Veterans. By doing that option, we saw that we would overcrowd the schools, but we heard from the community that they wanted to study that. There were surveys done by principals at different communities, and there was sort of a general acceptance that option 1 was favorable, and so we took that into the consideration. But I think that the cleanliness of the map is what really stood out, and sort of the fundamental principles of finding major roads as boundaries, but also sort of centralizing the school in the center of the zone.
So tonight we're asking for a recommendation for this, but I also want to speak to proposed engagement. If this is approved tonight, there is proposed engagement from the existing schools and identifying the impacted students, so they will reach out to them and have individual notice of that they are impacted, and then provide them with the school that they're going to, as well as, school of choice options. The school of choice window is open and they can partake of that. So there is, even for affected students, we plan on doing that outreach to them to make sure that they're aware and that they have options. And so with that, we would ask that the Board of Trustees approves this recommended option for these areas.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Zimmerman. Chair Tyler Rogers, thank you. We'll start with Clerk Hall.
Thank you so much. If we could go back to slide 4, I just wanted to clarify something. So the legacy grades, when I was on zoning for several years, we always said that 11th and 12th grade was part of legacy, and because this decision does impact Zamani and Wooster students, I want to make sure that we have that clarified publicly, because for sports and college and their pathway for graduation, 11th and 12th grade has always been really important. So just wanted to clarify if that changed or if that was just omitted on this slide.
I think we just omitted it on this
Okay.
slide, so yes.
Okay,
Has not
so
changed.
publicly making sure that we're saying legacy grades, students are automatically given that school of choice variance for 5th, 8th, 11th, and 12th if their zoned school has changed. Thank you. I probably will have maybe something else, but that was all I had for right now.
Thank you. Trustee Nicolette.
Thank you. I really appreciate the stressing of communication. I don't know if you can ever do enough of it, but after a while you feel like you did. So as far as employees that will be impacted, and I don't need to know I don't want to get in the weeds. I'm going to assume that there is a plan for communicating all of this very, I want to say thoroughly to employees, because they are equally impacted, and just let us know that there is a plan, and it will start as soon as the decision is made.
We work really closely with all of our leaders in human resources as part of this discussion, as well as the academic side of it with all of that. So there will be conversations with them, and a plan is ready for them.
Yeah, and Dr. Nicolette, thank you, President Mayberry. I would also say that communication's already begun. It's been on the front side of this process. It's not just on the back side of this. We've been working with schools, with principals, with staff to really make sure that folks are well aware of all aspects related to this, and we'll continue to do so. When we look at school of choice opportunities for our students, we'll make sure that we're reaching out individually to families that can benefit or choose to go that route. So there is a lot of thought that is going into it, and we're really trying to stay and refine our commitment to our families.
Thank you, Superintendent Ernst. Thank you, Trustee Nicolette. Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to open up for public comment.
David Kitchen.
President Mayberry, Superintendent Ernst, and members of the board. Excuse me. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is David Kitchen, and I'm the principal at Worcester High School. First, I would like to thank Chairman Rogers and the members of ZAC for their thoughtful work supporting the schools in our vertical. Over the past year, as conversations about schools consolidating, new buildings, opening, rezoning, and the upcoming AF&P have taken place, I have found our vertical to be a community that is open to change, a community that is open to discussing new ways that we can support students and families, and a community that takes great pride in our work, culture, and traditions. For example, for many years, Worcester seniors have had a senior day in the spring that includes going to all of our feeder schools dressed in our caps and gowns and walking the hallways. The young students give our seniors a hero's welcome, and many of our seniors remember being in elementary school when Worcester seniors came and walked the halls. As we continue to discuss changes that will impact our community, specifically the AF&P and future plans for Worcester campus, I would like to invite each of you to learn more about what makes our community unique. Worcester currently houses several programs that are unique in Washoe County School District: the IB program, the bilingual program, and the deaf and hard of hearing program. The IB program is the only internationally focused program in our district, and we consistently hear from the UNR Honors College that our full IB diploma students are some of the best prepared for their program. Our full IB diploma students have the unique opportunity to engage with the IB core, taking a class in theory of knowledge, completing an extended essay project, and engaging with community action and service. The IB program laid the foundation for us to launch our bilingual program 2 years ago. The only high school bilingual program that exists in Northern Nevada. Students now have the opportunity to take up to 3 classes fully immersed in Spanish. We offer math, history, language, and elective classes in which Spanish is the language of instruction. The bilingual program culminates with IB Spanish Literature, a 400-level literary analysis course that is by far the most advanced world language course offered in Washoe County School District. This year, we will also graduate our first students who will have earned their certificate to be community interpreters. Our DHH program, or Deaf and Hard of Hearing program, directly supports students who need sign language and/or note-taking for support. This program adds to the beautiful linguistic diversity of our community. Recently, we've been honored to host members from ZAC and the school board at Worcester High School to experience some of our unique programming firsthand. I would like to extend an open invitation to each of you. Thank you again for your time and for your thoughtful consideration of how upcoming changes will impact our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kitchen, for being here.
Pablo Navarrete.
Hello guys, my name is Paul Duan, and I do support option 1, the Green Bounty, because most majority of family, 58% of a veteran family want to go option 1, but mainly because the North Veteran family want to go to Libby Booth Elementary School because their walk zone, they're very close to Libby Booth and Echo border, and the majority of veteran want to stay together to go to Loader, which is option 2, but I like option 1, so a little better, and then I do support Reno Sparkini County going to Libby Booth Elementary School, while you're going all the way to Corbett. That's a far drive for them. And then my deepest heart is Central and South Corbett will go to we go to the new Lower Elementary School. I'm very excited to have them go to new school, to new school, Lower and Vaughn Middle School. So Covert is my alumni school. I excited to see the Washington closing, but it is best for this community to go to a new Lower Elementary School and a foundation approved elementary school for communal sparking and colonies. And then for South Covert, I know New World, the North South and the New World, I like to them go to Smith Street Elementary School as a communique, as a culture, create a new culture, for a year, becoming a new elementary school Pine Cabinet, that should be named soon. Very soon. So they have a reason to Des Moines High School. That makes sense. For not to not have to walk or take the bus to Worcester High School. I like to say thank you for board member to vote for a free bus pass for those students to have a free bus pass to and from Worcester High School. That we really appreciate for them. The accuracy going down. So I'm happy to support option 1.
Thank you.
Dustin Coley.
Good afternoon, Mr. Coleman.
Good afternoon, President, Superintendent, Board of Trustees. Well, you already know that I'm Dustin Coley, and I've been a Science and Energy Technologies teacher at Worcester High School for 13 years. As you consider these zoning decisions that directly impact our feeder schools, I wanted to draw your attention to their future high school, Worcester. I wanted to speak to you today about the AFMP. I had the pleasure to participate in a meeting and planning session held by the consultants, which was great, by the way, researching into the possibility of building the new administrative facilities on a portion of Worcester's campus. We were instructed in that session to focus on the needs of the administrative facilities and to not focus on the needs or future of Worcester High School. I find it odd that a potential decision as large as constructing an administrative building on a portion of Worcester campus should not consider the future of Worcester High School in its initial decision. The AFMP and the future of Worcester High School are inextricably linked, and I would ask the board to consider a holistic approach when evaluating any potential sites for the AFMP as it affects every student, current and future in our zone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. We'll bring this item back to the board for discussion, deliberation, and a motion. Yes, Trustee Smith, please.
Thank you, President Mayberry. So I want to say thank you so much, and special and specific thanks to Chief Searcy back there, Chief Zimmerman, Chair Rogers, and of course Vice Chair Coley as well too. The outreach that you did on this particular recommendation is very unique. The principals worked very uniquely with the communities. I was lucky enough to attend those meetings and hear directly from the families in all of these affected schools and communities, including the Reno Sparks Indian Colony. And I am very, very grateful that you created an evolved and deeply personalized experience for them with feedback along the way. I do support this option 1. And I also want to publicly thank you for bringing those additional options to that final meeting that the community was asking for. While you know in the crystal ball that there were reasons why those options may not have been strong, the community was very, very clear about wanting to see them. And the good news is once they saw them, we were able to bring them into this discussion, and they were active participants, and we landed at a wonderful option with option 1. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to really explore those special programs, the very specific mapping needs that they had around walk zones and transportation, and the options that you had. And I really think that the staff did a fantastic job as well with the engagement in our other partner municipalities. Also special thanks to Reno Vice Mayor Miguel Martinez, working with the NABs as well. This was really a team effort, and I'm very grateful for where we landed. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Smith. Any other further comments? I'm happy to entertain a motion.
I can do that.
Yes, ma'am.
I move that the Board of Trustees approves zoning the Gentry Airway Pocket as presented effective for the 27-28 school year, and option 1 as presented effective for the 27-28 school year as recommended by the Zoning Advisory Committee.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor from Clerk Hall to approve option 1 for item 4.05, and a second by Trustee Smith. There's no any further discussion. I too want to say thank you for all your outreach and your efforts. Okay. I see no further comments. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, folks. All right, we're on final approach here. Going to our reports, section 5.01 is our student representative report. Hardly. And I apologize, I do want to note that Trustee Smith had the lead. Usually we do well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. At our last student voice meeting, our main topic of discussion was our counselors. Since the school year is starting to wrap up, most students are either picking their classes for next year or they're finalizing their plans for after high school. Our counselors are a key part of this process. They help our students plan and prepare for the future, and they truly take every child by name and face to graduation to heart. Our counselors put so much time and effort into helping their students find success, and I would like to take this moment to recognize the incredibly important role that they play in our schools' communities. Thank you.
I feel like we're a counselor.
Okay, we'll move to item 5.02. These are board reports, and we'll start with Trustee Nicolette.
You're watching that call. You're
I
right here.
feel like you that. But it's so great.
Attended the honor band at the Pioneer Center. I want to thank the music department and everybody involved. It was absolutely exquisite. There were 18 middle schools and 10 high schools, 28 schools in all. For reading week, I had the pleasure of reading at Glen Duncan and Roland Melton and Desert Heights, where they did it a little differently. They did a project boards approach. So each 5th grade student read a book, and then they created a beautiful project board, and we got to judge them, which is really hard. Truth be known, I gave them all as many points as you could give them. Just, what are you going to do? And then I read at Incline Elementary School, and I also visited Incline Middle School and discussed with Dan Ledyard their exploratory program, which provides students with hands-on learning opportunities such as avalanche safety, hydroponics, mountain biking, just to name a few. And then with Incline High School, the middle school 8th graders went to visit Incline, and the student leaders led the discussion with the middle schoolers, and they asked just wonderful questions and provided a tour and told them about the Personalized Learning Academy, which you can go online and look up for with Incline High School. It's a passionate program that guides students through engineering and medicine while addressing real-world challenges. I visited Peavine, so I got a first-hand look at what we saw today, which was really fun. They're so proud of their clubs, and they're having such a good time. Attended Joy Prom at the Discovery. Oh, you should have seen how everybody was dressed. They absolutely were exquisite. The young gentlemen were all dressed up, and the young ladies looked like princesses. Maybe that's not appropriate, but they did. They were absolutely gorgeous. I visited Gomes Elementary School. Man, they got a lot of wonderful things going on out there. They have such a wonderful, strong family community and educator community. I did a ride-along with Washoe County School District Police with Sergeant Meg Lytle. And I learned a lot about the nuances between how students, depending on their age, are charged if they do something that they shouldn't be doing, and the different pathways. It was very interesting. I went to the Snacks author debut at the Barnes & Noble, attended drones. You know, I'm a drones fan. I just go to almost every one of them. Pine Middle School, attended their modernization plan, and then I will wrap it up with Tammy Zimmerman and Sandor Rasta provided me with an in-depth geothermal tour of Jaywood Raw, and I learned a lot, and I have some flyers I will share with my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Nicolette. Yeah, I'll be brief. I had an opportunity, Principal Kitchen had an opportunity to visit Wooster High School and spend some time with the student voice at Wooster, the student body president, the vice president. We talked about the future of Wooster, the potential future, and got some feedback from them. It was wonderful, wonderful visit. And that was my last 2 weeks, so end of report. Vice President Woodley.
All right, thank you. I want to take this opportunity to first give thanks to our Chief Internal Auditor, Mr. Stark. He met with the President and myself, give us an update and made sure that we knew he was available if we had any questions or if any of the trustees had any issues or concerns. I also want to express my gratitude to all the industries and agencies within the area that participated in last week's Reading Week, especially University of Nevada. I know they had staff and students. We go out to at least 15 different schools. And on that note, following up with fellow trustee Nicolette, Mr. Smith over at Glenn Duncan, he did a good job of getting a lot of people from different walks and different backgrounds to read to his students, so thank you to him. I want to express gratitude to the University of Nevada also because Mr. Flores and Mr. Klinger, they had a lunch meeting and they invited multiple agencies, and I think their intent was to share new initiatives and programs and express their desire to be partners with all the entities in the area and want to be good partners with the school district as well. So I want to thank them for their outreach. Also, Hug High School and Sparks High School staff, every year they do a great basketball fundraiser. They raise money for this year, I think it was Hope's Clinic, and it was a pretty one-sided game. I think Hug High School was really spanking them, and I had to leave early, so I didn't see the end, but they had a secret weapon. It was a school police officer. He's like 10 foot tall, and he played basketball somewhere. I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, I know, in a university that my wife loves, but I'm not a fan of, so I won't mention it here. Also, just want to share, the Guatemalan consulate was in Reno last month, and I know we have a small community, Guatemalan community, but I want them to know that they will be back here on March 21st and 22nd. They're housed in Las Vegas, but they have a lot of actual citizens and residents from Guatemala, and they have a lot of services that they provide. So 21st and 22nd. And lastly, I wanted to give a shout out to our Deputy Superintendent, Tiffany McMaster. I saw her at the university at a basketball game, and she was in the middle of the court, and she actually looked comfortable. She, very rarely do you see academic individuals on that court, but she was at home. Good job. No pat.
So we're just going thank you for getting my one quick picture up. So I too participated in Reading Week. I was traveling last week, so I only got to go to Donner Springs, but I figured I would make it a really, really worth it, and I asked my friends at Spread the Word Nevada to send me with some books. And so I got to read to 3 classes, a pre-K, a first grade, and a second grade class, and got to let them shop for books that they got to take home. And that was a stop and drop and read day, so the teachers were very excited that there was new material for that. So I appreciate the opportunity. I got to read one of my favorites, which was Little Blue Truck, and we got to make lots of animal noises for that. I don't have a picture of this, but I also recently became a DePoli parent, and I wanted to shout out Mr. Crowther, who is the choir director over at DePoli. He runs a tight ship, and he does not mess around with sixth graders, and I just think he's doing an incredible job getting them up on a stage and doing all the things they did. He also took all of the kids to UNR today. So bless his heart for that. And last week, both Trustee Smith and I attended the Recruitment and Retention Commission meeting to continue to look at options that we have as a state to bring more teachers here and more staff, education staff, as well as have kids go to college to want to be a teacher. I don't know why you wouldn't, because it's the best profession ever. And we did not have a chance to shout him out while he was here earlier, but Mr. Maddock, who's the AACT principal, was named the Nevada State STEM Advocate of the Year. And that is a really big deal, and he did a great job. He's doing a fantastic job there. And then my last thing is that we used to have a lot of celebrations earlier, but it's also Civic Learning Week this week. So go out and do something amazing in your community, because that's what civics is.
Yes.
Yes.
This picture is with my partner Haley at the presentations, and we were judges on the exhibits for Nevada History Week at the Carson Museum, and these kids are amazing. We also had the opportunity to interview the students that created these beautiful, some were dimensional, and they were just so exquisite. They could have been put up as artwork, not just an exhibit for Nevada history, but artwork. They were that amazing. Let's see. Okay, love these students. From left to right is me, Kayla, Fernanda, and Saturn, and they invited me to go to Debbie Smith CTE, where they're students, to present advocacy for GATE. And I know we are going to be phasing out of GATE, but they not only presented the pros for it, they also showed the other side. And I told them the main thing is to keep using their voice, keep advocating, and speak out about how important GATE is, because you never know. It may be revisited, but the important thing is to always speak out and inform. Their perspective was enlightening. Some of the things that came out of it was students shared the same goals: safe and emotional community, feeling safe, and they won't be taken advantage of because all the students are kind of on the same plane, and a feeling of belonging. I thought they were just amazing. Okay, this is reading at Sun Valley Elementary School, and I actually went there 2 days because I read to older grades the first day, and then I went back to read to the 4 kindergarten classes that I read to pretty regularly. And there is one book, everybody write it down, it's called Fox. It is an amazing, the illustrations alone are absolutely beautiful. I attended a fundraiser dinner. Oh, I better keep doing this. Echo Loader, Miss Nancy, the librarian, I stole her library book and had to return it today. It got mixed up in my books and I had to bring it back. I was a kleptomaniac. They made this poster and they wanted pictures of things that were important to me, and of course there's animals there, pigeons and my camel friend. And then I attended the book signing, Dr. Reagan from Snacks. She is absolutely amazing. And the kids publish books. She helps them publish books. It was absolutely amazing. I went to Sparks High School fundraiser. It's a dinner to raise money for Sparks Athletics. So much fun. If you get a chance, we just have a blast at that. And it was at the Girls and Boys Club this year. And I just want to mention, this has nothing to do with being a trustee. I did go to a fundraiser for the hospice. It's called Circle of Life Hospice, and I mean, these people are amazing that are there for individuals that need hospice, and it was eye-opening at how some people don't have anyone in their corner at their most neediest time. But it was absolutely beautiful. Thank you.
All right, just to finish this up here, I attended the WCSD Silver State Brigade Military Ball. I believe somebody else was there. And it's a long time standing tradition that brings students together from across our high schools to celebrate leadership, service, and teamwork. We had additional schools this year. We had Douglas come and Churchill, and I believe Clyde came down the hill. What stood out most to me was the professionalism and pride displayed by our students. There was a lot of, the theme was Enchanted Forest this year, and I believe Sparks High won. So it was, they had the railroad, they had everything going on there. It was pretty good. They were pretty loud, and there was a lot of spirit going on. But shout out to all the instructors and families and everybody that participates in keeping JROTC alive. And then the last thing for me was on Saturday I listened into that training, and I just wanted to put it out there how it ties into what we do. The Northern Nevada Charter Labor Council, I had the opportunity to attend a training hosted by them, and you can really see how the training reinforced the connection between public school and Nevada workforce. Mm-hmm. So we're really tied it all together here, and we're starting to work from from the starting of young, working all the way through, creating a good product at the end. So really you can see it in action, and they're very happy to be part of it. So, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Superintendent report 5.03.
Thank you, President Mayberry. So President Alexander and I recently met with a group of business leaders to dive into workforce development and really have a substantive conversation, talk about linking some efforts together and continuing to recognize how important that is for the community. Reading Week was a great week throughout the district, as so many of you mentioned. We had the pleasure of having Governor Lombardo and Superintendent Wakefield come and read to our students, and it was fun watching them interact with some of our youngest students. Had a chance to read over at Ecoloader myself, and it just reminds me of how rich children's literature is, how much magic there are in books, and how it just rekindles the teaching spirit. Also want to just say a special thanks to Kyle Kemp. He has been doing a tremendous job representing Washoe County School District on the District Performance Framework Committee, really helping bring some very individual knowledge that he has to this working group to help them arrive at some really good decisions for a district performance framework. Our superintendents, we continue to work on our INVEST document that will be coming forward, particularly around some areas of finance where we think we might be able to extend the value of the monies that we do receive. So some promising work out on the horizon, some good things happening, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Superintendent Nurse. We'll come to the conclusion of the meeting. Item 6. I want everybody to enjoy spring break. Unplug. Don't call me. No, just kidding.
Oh, we can text.
No, you can call me anytime. But seriously, I enjoy the weather. I hope we get a little more snow between now and our next board meeting on April 14th, 2026. Again, wishing all of our families, our friends, my colleagues, and our superintendent, your leadership team, and the entire staff a very safe and productive spring break. And my co-pilot here reminded me I need to ask for public comment. So thank you.
There's nobody here.
Is everybody here?
I have no cards.
She's like, no. Come on, Michelle, make one. Come on.
Do we have public comment?
I have no cards.
I say again.
This meeting is adjourned.
That's it.
That's crazy.
Good job, Karen.
Still got a call.